Welcome back to... I haven't stumbled in a while. I've been pretty good. Welcome back to WRPL, the podcast where we talk about all the things we are watching, reading, playing, and listening to. I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing well, Ben. How about you?
I'm doing okay.
That's great.
We are at episode 33.
Ooh.
Big one, too.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And I gotta admit, I only realized it was called In the Multiverse of Madness, and I just thought it was Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And so when it came up on screen, I was just like, am I that dumb? Am I just that oblivious and I don't pay attention or just make assumptions? But yeah.
I think it's one of those things where everyone, I feel like, has said and so it's just, whether you saw it there or not, like maybe the first time you're like, oh, in the Multiverse of Madness. But then constantly hearing everyone talk about it, it's like, oh, you've seen Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It just became one of those things like, oh, that must be the title.
Yeah, must be.
So
from here on out, spoilers for anything that we start to talk about. We have a few things to talk about first. Let's start with you.
Great. So I started... What I've been listening to is I started a new podcast on Spotify called Batman Unburied. 2 episodes are out right now. I looked it up to try and find out like how many episodes there would be, and so far there's no information I could find. So I don't know if it's going to be 10 episodes, 100 episodes.
Wow, 100 episodes of Batman.
I don't know. But it stars Winston Duke as Batman.
Oh, really?
Yeah. M'Baku for all the Marvel fans out there. You got Gina Rodriguez from Jane the Virgin as Barbara Gordon.
Okay.
In this version of the Batman mythos, Batman's parents are both still alive. His dad is played by Lance Reddick from The Wire fame, who's got like just one of the best voices out there anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, in this version... Thomas Wayne is still the head of Gotham Hospital, but now Batman, or Bruce Wayne, works as a forensic pathologist. So he works with all the corpses that come in and like does the autopsies and all that kind of stuff. And there's a new serial killer in Gotham called the Harvester. And what he does is he kills his victims and takes an organ from their body. And Bruce Wayne is now like kind of this weird guy in the hospital. Like he works in the basement and in the morgue essentially, and he empathizes with his patients and kind of puts himself in their shoes, and so like people feel kind of uncomfortable working with him because he's like this weirdo who's like talking to the dead bodies and all this stuff. And he has a new partner in the morgue with him, and I think she's supposed to be like the budding love interest of the story. In episode 1, the Harvester, the body that comes in, it wasn't harvested. He was stopped before he could finish the crime. And so the Harvester shows up and actually stabs Bruce Wayne. Now Bruce Wayne has to like see a psychiatrist played by Jonathan Rhys-Davies, who Gimli for anyone who and it's just kind of like the show is this introduction to the psyche of Bruce Wayne, and he has this troubled past, and he still doesn't like guns, and there's something with bats, but he, like, 2 episodes in, he hasn't done any Batman stuff yet. But it's really well acted, and the sound design's really good, and I'm interested to see where the story goes. Oh, and according to the main summary on Spotify, Barbara Gordon has a team up with Gotham's second best detective, the Riddler.
Oh,
so the Riddler hasn't shown up yet, so we'll see where the story goes. But it's definitely different in the sense like, why does Batman become Batman if his parents don't die?
Yeah, okay. That was one of the things about Gotham I liked, that the Riddler worked for the GCPD and helped him solve crimes. It makes sense if he didn't turn into a baddie. Why wouldn't he do something that has some of the biggest mysteries? If he's not going to be, looking out into space and trying to discover the big picture sort of things, why not solve the riddles of small crimes? So, and
there's also some nice little nods, like, because this kind of plays out like almost like an old-timey radio show. There's like a commercial break where it's like, oh, tune in next week for the new adventures of the Gray Ghost, and they do like little kind of stuff like that.
Okay,
so
cool.
There's some small stuff with the interaction of the Batman world, but yeah, it's a totally new take on Batman, and it seems like a pretty interesting story to tell, and I'm looking forward to see where it goes.
Yeah, I wonder if the Harvester is a villain we already know, but because Batman didn't do his Batman thing, he's just going by a different name. it's Zaz, it's Professor Pig, it's one of them, and they just adopted a different identity to do these crimes, or maybe it's a brand new character.
Could be.
I'm going to say Scarecrow.
Yeah, I will say it's not a spoiler that, you know, he does eat some of the stuff. There is a cannibalistic element to it, and the actor who plays him, it does it. Like, I went on IMDb, not looking for spoilers. I was just like, who's this voice? It sounds somewhat familiar, and it's Sam Witwer. He was the main guy in the Force Unleashed.
Oh, okay,
yeah. So
Star Killer, right?
Star Killer, yeah. So I was worried that they were just like casting someone, and like that person was doing a fake voice, and it's like, oh, it's actually, you know, Thomas Wayne, or it's, you know, someone playing dual roles.
Yeah. Oh God, is it gonna be Thomas Wayne because he's a surgeon? And
there, in the first couple episodes, it seems like there's clues that maybe like it doesn't lay it out. Like they would be easy to miss, but there's just like some things he says and some like evidence that Bruce is just kind of expositioning out to his new partner. Kind of like, I could see Thomas Wayne being the Harvester, but because Lance Reddick's voice is so different from Sam Witwer's, maybe. I mean, you could still do that because in the show, the Harvester is described as wearing this mask that's kind of like almost like a paramilitary mask. So I guess you could do sort of like, oh, he has like a voice altering thing in there.
Okay.
But I hope not.
Yeah,
because
that'd be
like 2 episodes in, it's like all the clues are kind of like not really pointing at Thomas Wayne, but it just seems like it'd be too obvious at this point if it was him.
Yeah, it's your red herring. Now.
So, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Like I said, I don't know how long this series will last, but 2 episodes in, it's pretty cool.
Free?
It is free, at least for now.
What's it on?
Spotify.
Oh, okay. And it was made exclusively for Spotify?
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen anything.
Because I know, what's the audiobook thing? The audiobook app.
Audible?
Yeah, they do like originals, and I've even seen like commercials where they have actors in cool costumes and give you a glimpse of what this audiobook's going to be, and it'll be just like a 2-hour episode, and it's just like its own standalone thing.
I mean, I just listened to it today, so I didn't do deep dive into if this is just like a tease for the rest of the season that you have to like pay for, because I think there was another Batman series I was gonna start, but then I saw that you had to pay for more episodes or something like that. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that.
Why does anybody do anything for free, you know?
But I mean, if you're a fan of Batman, check it out. It's pretty good. I mean, you would think, I could see people going like, oh, I don't want to like listen to Adventures of Batman. Like, I want to see Batman. But
sure.
It's presented in a way, I think, that is actually pretty solid.
Yeah. Cool. All right. We both finished a show. It finished its 6-episode run. Moon Knight just ended a few days ago.
Yes, sir.
So what are your overall thoughts on this show?
It's probably my least favorite of the series so far. What I liked best about it is it wasn't connected to any other thing. It was just the Moon Knight show. Mm-hmm. But the first 4 episodes, I didn't really like that much.
Yeah.
It seems to be a thing that I think Marvel's doing where I don't know if it's just rushing or I don't know, there's just like little nitpicks I have that just kind of pull me out of the show that just seem like lazy writing or lazy effects or, you know, lazy action. But then like the 5th episode happened where he's stuck in his sort of dream world, purgatory, afterlife kind of sequence. I think that episode's great because you actually like get character work.
Sure.
And, you know, you get backstory as to why things happen, and it's more visually interesting. And I always like seeing different versions of like the afterlife and this Egyptian version. And I like when people can like walk through a door and they're in like another world, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What a shit mom though.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I see where she's coming from, but you don't do that to your kid. Just because one of your kids die doesn't mean you get to completely, you know, pile it all onto the other kid.
Sure. And then I liked the final episode for the most part. There's some stuff that I was like, okay, whatever. But I mean, I think in terms of a costume standpoint, all of his costumes look awesome.
Yeah.
There's fight sequences in the final episode that I really, really like. Like when he goes, when he's finally accepted it himself and he's can like warp back and forth between both costumes. I really like that. And the fact that Steven actually like did fight in that in his costume and had like the 2 batons and was just like kicking ass. I was like, that's cool. Like this is like this show is kind of pitched as like, oh, this is Marvel's Batman.
Yeah.
But like his fight scenes weren't all that interesting in the first 4 episodes. In the last episode, I thought like, oh, his fight scene's like really cool. And then you cut away from the big action set piece, which like kind of pissed me off. And was it Layla,
I think.
Her costume, awesome.
Yeah.
I think she looks great.
Yeah.
One of my complaints in that final episode though is there's a shot that made me laugh where like Steven's looking around, there's all this carnage, and he like looks over and she's just like getting like shot with a machine gun, like point blank range, and she's like blocking it with her like wings, and it just seemed like so silly. It's just like this guy could just like step a foot to the side and just
aim
kill
down
it.
and get your
like,
foot.
It's just like it just seemed so ridiculous.
Some things that I have issues with, and movies do this all the time. Moon Knight has the bad guy. I don't even remember his name.
Harrow?
Yeah. And it's like, ooh, I'm going to finally kill the bad guy who's doing all this thing. And then, nah, I can't do it. I'm better than that. You do it, Khonshu. I can't be a part of this. Like, you just got done murdering all of his henchmen, and now you can't stop the bad guy? I hate it when movies do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I could see the argument where it's like, okay, well, he's like working with Tatum and with Steve, and Steve doesn't want him to kill people. They want to be better. It's like, yeah, there's 2 people inside of you. I can kind of, I'm okay with it. It's hokey. It's been done a billion times.
Way too many.
But I do like that they at least retcon that in terms of, oh, well, there's actually a third personality, and then he kills him.
Sure.
There's someone worse than Mark, because Mark is a good guy, but I mean, he was still a mercenary who did kill people on the regular. So, of all the people you've killed, killing the guy who was like trying to destroy the world wouldn't be the most unforgivable thing to do. In terms of like, if you're the one who's the justice of Khonshu, like, this guy could probably go.
Yeah.
If you want to spare his henchmen, sure, because they're just, mind warped, cult dumb people.
Yeah.
Sure, but like this guy is like a sadistic, mass murdering.
Yeah, he's gonna take out so many people of the world.
Yeah.
A couple of things. I was glad that we got to see another god's avatar. After seeing that, it made me go like, I want to see all their avatars.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what the show should have been. You have these multiple avatars out here doing different things, and you just make Harrow the avatar for the alligator person.
Yeah. Christ.
Ahmet.
Ahmet.
And so you have these other costume vigilantes or whatever, and Moon Knight has to stop them because maybe they've broken away from their gods, or a god is going evil, whatever. I want to see more of that.
Yeah. Which, I mean, we very well could see. I mean, if we just had, like, suddenly their Egyptian Avengers show up, and you'd been like, oh, well, this is kind of a lot. Where it's like, if this is another show where they do movies or whatever, and you want to introduce new gods in and form their own, Egyptian team, that could be cool.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that I apologize to the hippo woman.
Hippo god, yeah.
Hippo god. But I was surprised that, like, her powers made her into, like, a falcon lady and not something more sort of hippo-themed.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Khonshu is, like, a bird dude.
And Moon Knight's
not
anything.
A mummy.
Yeah, he's just,
but, like, a mummy kind of fits.
Sure.
And it's, like, an all-white costume, like the moon. And he's got, like, but it's, like, there's nothing that I remember. I mean, there might be details on the hippo god that I missed that, like, oh, that's why that transferred over.
Sure.
Because, like, I'm fine with her, like, having flight and super strength or whatever, because, like, none of those powers translate to the moon or anything. So it's like, she can have whatever powers she wants.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that she, like, I don't know, there just didn't seem to be any, like, if you told me, like, guess what god she is, I'd be like, some bird god, I assume. It's like, nope, she's a hippo. It's like, what?
Yeah, well, I did hear on another podcast, they said, well, she turns into one of those little birds that sit on hippos' backs and eat all the bugs off of them and, like, clean their teeth.
That'd be funny.
I mean, why not?
Yeah. Okay. Because it's like, yeah, that's my avatar. That's who I saw. Okay.
And you are working for me.
Okay.
So
I can buy it.
Sure.
I don't know if that's true, but
who knows?
I like the concept.
Yeah. And I when she flew in, I hope like her and Sam meet up. So he's just like, yeah, Bird Girl, I like this. We should team up.
Yeah, that's instead of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it'll just be, well, he's not even Falcon.
He's not Falcon anymore.
Captain America.
Captain America and Layla. That sounds like a fun show. Cool. Anything else with Moon Knight? I agree. I think it's the weakest of all the shows.
I think Oscar Isaac's great.
Yeah. He's fantastic.
I think he is wonderful, and I look forward to seeing more of him in the future. I just think that this show needed at least 2 more episodes. Like, it just felt so rushed. And
I don't think it was. I think it was expanded. This could have, everything that happened in this show could have been a 2-hour movie.
Sure. Okay, let me rephrase. I think that it either needed to be condensed because it felt like it kind of dragged out because those first 4 episodes, I don't even really remember what happened or what was important. Like, I felt like we got all the good stuff at the end. Like, you could have had, all that Mark and Steven stuff. Like, you could have had episode 1 and then the trip to the Egyptian tomb or Alexander the Great's tomb, and then that's where Khonshu is, sealed away. And the last hour of the movie is him Mark going okay, well, now I need to get Khonshu out, and then have the big battle at the end.
Yeah.
But in terms of if you decide to do a series, it's weird that it was only 6 episodes, and it just I don't know. It to me it just felt rushed for the 6 episodes. I think you need to go one of either way. You either need to keep it tight, or you need to if you're going to expand it out, you need to fill in the details that make it worth the time frame. And I just feel like there was stuff that just didn't work for me.
Yeah, by the time we got to the 4th episode where he's wakes up in the hospital, it feels like, oh my god. Wait, or was that the 5th episode? Yeah, it was 4th episode.
Yeah, I think
when he gets shot.
Yeah, the 4th episode he gets shot. And
okay. Yeah, because the 5th one is the afterlife, and then 6 is the final. Yeah, and it just seemed like, okay, this should have been episode 2. We're introducing even more voices in his head, and it just seemed like you could really just cut this down. But yeah, I was not all that engaged. I think the action is fine, but there's better things in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think the story of WandaVision and Loki is just much more interesting. I don't have high hopes for Miss Marvel. It looks almost like a kid show compared to everything else. So maybe it won't be my least favorite for that long.
Yeah.
But right now it is my least favorite of them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see going forward if these shows, I mean, obviously they're still doing well.
Yeah.
Because I think at this point Marvel is practically too big to fail. But you are starting to see the cracks in some of the content. I don't know if it's just Disney pushing for we need to get as much stuff out. We need to always churn the wheel of everything. It's I don't know. I would much rather them take their time and we don't have to have 2 shows or 3 shows a year. It's just give us 1 show a year as long as that show is awesome. Yeah. And so far, WandaVision was cool, and Loki is my personal favorite of all of them. And then, I mean, I like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but it wasn't as
there's another one
as interesting as those.
Right?
No,
there's more than there was 4, and this is the 5th one, right? I feel like we're missing one.
Now you're making me paranoid. I mean, I know what you mean. It feels like there was something between Moon Knight and Falcon and Winter Soldier, but
no, that was Loki. But there was something between Falcon, Winter Soldier, and Loki, right? WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier, something.
The Inhumans, Hit Monkey. Oh, Hawkeye. Jesus.
Hawkeye. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I really like Hawkeye.
Yeah, Hawkeye was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's by no means an unwatchable show or a terrible show. It's just, of the other ones, it's my least favorite. So, yeah. But it introduced a cool character, a cool costume, and cool powers I like, and I look forward to seeing him and Layla more
Yeah.
in the future.
I hope they do, but I always heard this was a one and done. Oscar Isaac had a 1-season contract, and it's up to him if he wants to return. And I can't see you recasting this, especially when he has to play 3 different characters.
Yeah.
So hopefully he enjoyed it enough
Unless you do
to
like
come
an
back.
Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus kind of thing.
Yeah, they
where
could.
It's like, 3 different actors playing all 3 roles, but it's the same guy.
You're all not nearly as good as one Oscar Isaac, so we need 3 of you to really fill in that spot. Okay. Moon Knight. We'll talk a little more Marvel stuff later.
Yep.
And our last thing before we get to our main topic, you finished a video game without me.
I finished a video game and a movie.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Well, real quick, I watched Death of the Nile.
Oh, that's right.
It's the sequel to the Murder on the Orient Express. I didn't see the Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, you didn't?
No. I just didn't really have any desire to. It was one of those movies where it's just like, oh, if I catch it, streaming somewhere, I might watch it. Or if like someone's like, oh, I'm gonna watch this movie, do you want to? And I'll be like, okay. Like I had nothing against it. It's just I wasn't gonna pay to see it.
Okay.
But my wife wanted to watch it. She watched the first one, and I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll watch this with you. You watch a lot of the crap I make you watch, and it was fine. I enjoy good mystery, and for the most part, like it took me a while to kind of figure it out. Like I had an idea of who the ultimate villain was, but I thought it was like kind of too obvious. That like that was the thing. It's like I thought it was too obvious, so it couldn't be that. And then when it was that, I was like, oh, okay, well that makes sense. But my biggest problem with this movie is just like it doesn't look great.
Yeah.
Like the entire movie is essentially CGI because a good portion of it takes place just on the boat, but you can tell like outside of the boat it's just green screen everywhere. And I mean, Egypt seems like such a visually appealing place, but it's like, but we don't want to pay to send all these people to Egypt.
Sure.
So we're just going to build a couple sets and then just be on the boat for 90% of the movie.
Easier.
Which is fine. It's like, okay, the first one's a murder on a train, this one's a murder on a boat. It's just, Kenneth Branagh, I think, is like a very talented director. So just to see these glossy movies, like I know you're not big on period pieces, neither am I, but I think like what's good about them, like besides costume wise, is like you can make them visually appealing. And I know Egypt looks vastly different from the 1950s or whatever, or 30s, whenever this is set, versus now. But
sure,
I don't know. It didn't look.
Yeah, I saw some clips of like people just standing at the base of the pyramids, and it just looked awful.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. But the mystery is engaging enough.
Okay.
Like I wasn't bored in the movie at all. I think all the performances are solid. There was reasons for and opportunities for essentially all characters to sort of have their own motivations to why. But what also was interesting is the murder doesn't occur till an hour in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like so the whole movie, it's like there's a character who's sort of chasing the Armie Hammer and Gal Gadot's character in this movie, and it's like, okay, well, she's clearly like the one who has the most reason to murder. Gal Gadot is the one who ends up murdered.
Oh, really? She's the victim. I swore it would be Armie Hammer.
Nope. And so yeah,
I'm just gonna hold this. I can't lean any further.
So an hour in, you finally get the murder happen. But anyway, yeah, by the end, I was like, okay, that was pretty solid. But do I feel excited to watch? Like, if this was a franchise that continued, do I care about seeing other ones? No, I think there's more interesting mysteries. Okay. But I wasn't bored for the 2 hours I was watching it. So that's the one comment. I think this is a movie that is easily accessible to everyone. It's not filled with like curse words or nudity or like graphic violence or anything. It's a very digestible murder mystery.
Okay. I did see the first one, but I read the book, so I knew going in, who the killer was. This one I don't know. And it's available to watch on streaming, and I just haven't been able to pull the trigger because I've heard so much bad stuff about it, and there's a lot of actors in it who have kind of ended up turning out to be kind of crappy people. Yeah. So it's hard to support things, but we found out that stuff after the fact. So
I can watch a movie without.
You can separate the art from the artist.
Yeah. I mean, by no means would I say it's a great movie, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But if someone's just like, you wouldn't be. I don't think anyone mostly would be upset watching it. It's just like I said, it's perfectly an unoffensive, adequate murder mystery film.
Cool. And you finished a game.
And I finished a game. Yeah, so you and I started the Dark Pictures anthology, House of Ashes, together.
Yes.
We played the first 2 hours together, and then my plan was to wait for you, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So this is, for those who don't know, the Dark Pictures anthology is a series of horror-based games. Each game is new characters, new setting, and based on the choices you make throughout the game, it changes the story and the dialogue and who lives and who dies, and they're relatively short games, and I'm not a big fan of horror, and I usually don't like paying money for a game that I can beat in 6 hours, but I'm also a fan of cinema, and these are kind of the most cinematic games out right now, and for the most part, I always enjoy their stories. Whether they are always scary or not is here or there, but I do enjoy them. So this one is actually the least scary, in my opinion, of the three. I saw some reviews that said like this was kind of the last one, Little Hope, wasn't reviewed all that well, and they said that this one was a bit more scary. I didn't find it scary, but this is the first one that isn't necessarily some sort of horror game. It's more of a science fiction game. But the first half of the game makes you think like, oh, this is some sort of Sumerian demon monsters. And are you ready for spoilers?
I'm ready for spoilers.
This game is you and a band of you are U.S. soldiers during the Iraq War in 2003, and you believe you found this site that has weapons of mass destruction, and there's an earthquake at the site, and you fall into this pit, and it turns out that it's this underground temple from 2,000 years ago, built by an ancient civilization of like Sumerians or something like that, and there's these demons, these sort of vampire sort of like creatures that are trying to kill you and all that stuff. So then it kind of becomes like a vampire story, but as the game progresses, you go deeper and deeper down, and you find out that actually millions of years ago, possibly like the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, they never quite say that, but it could be what it is. An alien spacecraft crashes into Earth, and so the monsters that are killing you, some of them have been humans who have turned over time because the game opens in this sort of big battle where there's like this eclipse and all this stuff, and but the monsters who are attacking you are actually warped aliens, so it's very much face hugger kind of things where like so the aliens like hatch from these eggs, and they're kind of parasitic, and they like look for a host, so they killed all the aliens that crashed, and slowly
they were on the ship with the aliens.
Yes, I forget exactly. I can't remember if the aliens. Yeah, I think the aliens picked them up on another planet, and that's what caught. And like then they
broke out.
The ship, crashed into Earth.
Like the Thing.
Yeah, and so it turned them into vampire sort of like monsters, and so you and this band have to destroy this huge like underground cavern of there's like thousands and thousands of these eggs and like sort of fossilized vampires that are like slowly like awakening and breaking out, and you have to destroy all of them in order to like save Earth kind of thing. And I ended up two of the 5 characters died.
Aww.
Of the main 5 who are supposed to make it to the end. That girl that I was just like, all right, we got to protect her.
Yeah.
She was pretty much dead instantly.
Aww.
Like I ran into her later in the game, but she was infected by one of them, and so it was like she was slowly turning.
Now, before you go on, these monsters that attach themselves to the aliens, do they do impregnate you and something bursts out of you?
No, nothing bursts out of it.
It just transforms you.
It transforms you from the inside.
Okay.
So
now, do the human ones that get transformed, are they different looking than the aliens that get transformed? Or it doesn't matter what these things get on, they just turn into the same thing?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to say no, they don't, because you do run into... So at the beginning of the game, like I said, there's sort of like this battle from 2,000 years ago with these ancient, Sumerian people or whatever it was. And you do run into a character from the beginning who was taken over by one of the parasites, and so he just looks like a human, but he's got like horns growing out of his head, and he's got like kind of vampire teeth coming out of his mouth. So he does look different from the other creatures. The other creatures are just aliens that have become vampiric.
Yeah.
So
do we get to see the aliens before they become vampiric? Is there a flashback?
If there's a sequence where Ashley Tisdale, like, she becomes infected, and so like that's how she died in my game. I think she always gets infected no matter how the story plays out. But you can, I think in other versions you can find a cure.
Okay.
But there's a sequence in the game where as she's infected, she's like, you know, she falls to the ground. She's like, my head, and then like kind of like looks inside of her brain, and you see the spaceship like crashing into Earth, but that's it. You don't see.
Little green men.
You don't see
at the controls going.
So if there's some version that you see the aliens, I just haven't gotten to that point. Maybe in another playthrough I will. But yeah, you see the dead bodies of the original aliens, which don't look vastly different from the vampires. It's just the vampire versions, like they grew out horns in the teeth and the wings and everything, but they essentially like look very similar to what attacks you. But I don't think you ever see the actual. Like I watched the behind the scenes after you beat the game. There's stuff that unlocks, and like the little parasites I think look like shrimps essentially that like crawl into your mouth or whatever, and like that's how they get you. But I don't remember if you ever actually see them. It's just you kind of figure out as the story goes on like what had happened. So I was like, as I was playing, I was like, oh man, Ben I think might actually like this, because like this is clearly aliens and the thing, like this is like up your alley. And it has nothing to do with demons or magic or like, you know, ghosts or anything like the other games did. It's just like, nope, just an alien thing that turned something essentially into vampires. Because I mean, they are weak to the sun. Like they do burn up if they, like the final battle of the game takes place up above. And
but it's during the eclipse, right?
But it's during the eclipse.
Yeah,
and so,
of course
we have to
is.
survive for 8 minutes, and so you have to like fight, like you're in this little house and you have to like fight off the aliens as they're like breaking through the house. It's like, and that's where like all your characters could die the last minute, but I was able to like save the last 3 characters who were alive. So I mean, I was happy that how my story pretty much played out.
So just the 2 women died on yours, and all the guys survived?
No. So the Asian dude with the weird voice, he died essentially instantly. That girl, she came back, but she was infected, and she shows up later, and you ended up just, as she's like fully turned, and you just kick her off the side of a cliff or something. And but like, yeah, everyone in the crew dies except for the captain, the husband, Ashley Tisdale, her guy she's having an affair with, the kind of racist white guy, and the character Salim. So Salim, the white guy, the racist guy, and the affair dude. They were the 3 that survived. Ashley Tisdale's character, that one I fucked up on. That one I couldn't save, but she made it far. Like she only had like 45 minutes of the game left, and she would have been fine. But I really fucked up on the captain guy, because I got him killed like half an hour after we started playing. Maybe no, it was probably more like an hour and a half in, but it was just a dumb decision. Like I ran into one of those things where, you know, if you look at an artifact and it's like, this is one of the but it's like a weird clue, it doesn't give you any context. I saw that, and I forgot that that's always the one that's bad, and so I chose the one that like got him killed. And it wasn't even like an exciting death. He just got shot in the head by Salim, who was just like defending himself. It wasn't exciting, and they like, no one even seemed upset about it. They're just like, oh man, it sucks that the captain died, but like no one was upset.
That happened when we played that first one. We made one decision. It was like, your choices were no, stop, or hey, no, stop, and it was like the same thing, and we just chose one randomly. Someone character got killed, and then when everybody got back on the boat, they don't even like seem all that sad that they lost one of their people.
Yeah, I mean, and this is also the problem with those games is some of the they look great in terms of like skin and like how the face moves, but the eyes in these games are horrendous. Like they're just dead behind them, and like the eye lines are all off. Like Ashley Tisdale's like constantly like looking all over the place. It's like, who is she? Like,
maybe
why is
she
she
has
looking
the
around the
same
room?
physics as Aloy's hair.
Yeah. I don't know what it was, but it was driving me crazy to just look at some of these people like talk to each other, and it's like, why aren't you just looking at the person in the eyes?
Yeah, it's like they're almost autistic and they can't make eye contact, and it's like all the characters are just
cut that.
No, I mean that's the thing with some autistic people, that they can't make eye contact. But I remember everybody looked really good when we were playing, but Ashley Tisdale is like there's so much going on around her that is more important than the person talking to her. Right
yeah, I really don't know what it's like. All they have to do is have a character look forward, and they just can't seem to do it. And I don't know if it's the tracking thing or if it's just like, oh well, if we have her looking straight, she looks like her face looks completely dead, so we need to animate her a little bit more to make her look more dynamic, maybe. But I need to see the before and after of that, if that's the case, because
yeah, I want to see the performance next to what it ended up in the game. Because is she acting like that? Is she checking out fireflies everywhere, and that's why her eyes are just going crazy?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's bothersome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like the story in terms of, and I like that, in all the other games you have to find a weapon occasionally. It's like, oh, I need to pick up a stick, or like, oh, luckily I have this knife here. And sometimes you can miss that, but it's like these guys were trained and they had guns the entire time. Like you got to actually like fight off creatures and stuff. Cool. Like it was more of an action sci-fi movie than a horror.
You could actually aim to shoot people.
Yeah.
So
that's what I liked about it, was that it set itself apart. It wasn't just like dumb kids in the woods somewhere going like, how are we gonna escape this horrible zombie thing coming after us? It's like, no, it's like we know how to fight things and we're gonna fight things.
Yeah.
So that's what I enjoyed about it. So I mean, if you like horror games, if you like cinema, if you like games where you don't know how it's going to end because your choices might cause your character to die, or maybe and there's versions where all 5 characters live and it's like a perfectly happy ending. Check this game out. I look forward to more of this series. There's one more game, not The Quarry. That is a similar game, but the next game, it takes place in the H.H. Holmes Hotel, where he did all the serial killer murders.
Yeah.
And then that's the end of season 1. And they've announced 6 more games.
Cool.
They have the titles out. They were just released them, I think, like a month ago or something like that. And so, yeah, that'll be season 2, is 6 new games.
I don't know any of them, but I'm going to say one of them takes place in the South with like a swamp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There is one, I forget the exact title, but it's something like 8022, so it takes place like way in the future.
Oh.
It looks like, and I was like, oh, so like a cyberpunk kind of horror game, like that might be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Awesome, cool. Well, we have a watching, a playing, a listening to. We don't have a reading, but I'm like 93% done with Morningstar.
Oh, okay.
I had a long drive. I had a 5-hour drive this weekend, and I listened to most audiobooks on like 1.25 speed, just because sometimes they like really take their pauses. And yeah, I got so close. I almost wish I had a longer drive to finish it. And I'm just like right at the end, like it just revealed, spoilers for this book, that Severo didn't get shot. It was all a big fake. So we'll talk about that probably next week.
Okay.
I mean, we'll talk probably off air about it a little more, but we'll review it. So yeah, we did a full whirlpool, kinda. Woo!
Riding the waves, baby.
So let's get to our main subject.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So you just pretty much got out of the theater, right?
I saw it at 11:15 this morning. So I mean, it's been
12
like
hours.
12 hours.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I saw this the morning of Friday. You know, like so many movies, I get up extra early and watch it before I go into work. So Doctor Strange is the 28th Marvel movie.
Honestly, I felt like there was more.
Really?
At this point,
okay.
Yeah. I thought we were somewhere in the high 30s, it feels like.
Oh, because...
But maybe it's just like with the shows and all the other stuff,
yeah.
It just feels like there's more.
Endgame was 21, I believe.
Oh, okay.
That's crazy. That it's been 15 years or so, and we have such a huge interconnected world.
I mean, it's been 50 years or something of Bond, and we just had the 25th one.
Yeah.
And it's been 15 years of
and
Marvel.
We blew that out of the way.
Yeah, I got the 28.
And like with quality, like the Bonds are up and down. They're not all beloved, but I'd say 90% of Marvel films are pretty loved. There's only a handful that people say are like, oh, these ones are the bad ones. But they're really, compared to other movies, they're really not that bad. They're just in comparison to this. So Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, directed by Sam Raimi, written by, I forgot his name, but he created the Loki show. Mm-hmm. So that's good that they had someone involved, which I was kind of surprised that there wasn't any sort of TVA coming in for this. Like, that would have been one of the worlds. But you want to give us a quick synopsis of what this movie's about?
Sure.
If you can. Can you do a quick one?
So, in this film, we have our hero, Doctor Strange, who runs into America Chavez, a young girl who has the ability to walk through the multiverse. And you come to find out that the person that has been pursuing her to try and steal her power is none other than Wanda, a.k.a. the Scarlet Witch, and who wants to kill America Chavez, steal her power, and use it to go into a universe where her children, who are alive, the same children from WandaVision television show. So it's up to Doctor Strange to travel the multiverse with America and stop Wanda from destroying the multiverse and killing this, sweet innocent girl. Yeah. While doing battle with possibly the most, or they keep being pitched as the most powerful character in the MCU currently. Yeah. Where he runs in, we see different versions of the character, multiple different Stranges, multiple different Wandas, and just the wacky antics that the multiverse wreaks across all the universes.
Yeah. It was weird. I was not super excited for this movie. When I saw the first trailer after Spider-Man, I was just like, yeah, that looks cool. Yeah. I want to see this. But in the lead up to it, it was just kind of like, yeah, okay, it's coming out. Whoop-de-doo. And even the night before, I'm going to bed realizing like, oh yeah, I'm seeing Doctor Strange tomorrow. I feel like I should be a little more hyped for this. But I was keeping my expectations kind of low because I really thought it was going to be a huge, you throw every single possible piece of nostalgia from any Marvel movie, Ghost Rider, Daredevil, Ed Norton's Hulk, anything, Eric Bana's Hulk, just throw it all in because, hey, if it worked for putting in a bunch of Spider-Man, let's give them everything. And thank God it wasn't that. Yeah.
It was a little that. But not
a little that. But it could have been extreme.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I like this movie. And I really want to see it again. It really made me want to watch it a second time. Whereas after I saw Spider-Man, it was just like, yep, I saw that. I will want to watch it again, but I don't need to watch it again. Mm-hmm. This one I feel deserves another rewatch. But I'm rating this one probably a C+.
I'm glad, because I feel like mostly when it comes to these Marvel movies, you're against me in my ratings.
Marvel fanboy, yep.
Yeah, where I'm a little bit more critical. I didn't really like this movie. Yeah. Now, I will say, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's a perfectly acceptable summer popcorn movie. Mm-hmm. If you like Marvel stuff, I think it's perfectly enjoyable. But in terms of, if I'm comparing it to, all the stuff Marvel has made, there's a lot about this movie I don't really like. Mm-hmm. There's some sequences I love, but this is a C- for me. Yeah. And we'll get into why. But why don't you start off?
Okay.
What do you want to talk about first?
Well, one thing I saw on Twitter was this is a movie that the script needed probably another 5 passes or so to really work out the details, but is probably one of the better directed and visually appealing of all the Marvel movies, and I think I can agree with that.
Well, see, that's my favorite thing about Doctor Strange is every time he's in a sequence, there's no more visually appealing character in the MCU than what Doctor Strange does. The first movie was all about mirror universes, and the first time we saw that stuff, we're like, wow, this is cool.
That's like Inception, but crazier.
Yeah, and now the mirrorverse has been kind of played out. I'd be happy to see it again. Sure. But yeah. This movie does a lot of visual appealing stuff, and I think Sam Raimi got to do some fun stuff near the end, and that's that's what I like about Doctor Strange. Is like, okay, if he's not the most, if he's not like your favorite character, I totally get it. But I think from a director standpoint, like this is the movie that you can like you can and should go like all out,
and
just
really
do some wild fun stuff.
Yeah.
And there's, like I said, there's some sequences in the back half that I do love, but the first hour of this movie I was not into at all. I was struggling to find enjoyment in it. Luckily the back half, like, I wouldn't say saved it, but it made it worth the watch.
Yeah, watching, and when they get to the world where Doctor Strange is dead, there's a statue of him, and they run into Mordo. At that point, I was like, oh yeah, we still have to see the Illuminati. Oh, we still haven't seen any other crazy cameos from other worlds that aren't another Doctor Strange. Mm-hmm. And then I started getting excited again. It's like, oh, there's still more to this than what I've already seen. Because story-wise, I was just kind of like, okay, fine, whatever. It's just, someone, bad guy after good guy, got to save the good guy. So yeah, this second half is definitely a more interesting story. Because that first half, it's still a little light. It's still a little jokey. Mm-hmm. But I think it's almost like they had 3 ideas for Doctor Strange. Like, is it going to be him with Christine and, trying to find a world where he does find happiness? And then you have the story of him saving this young girl. And then you have Wanda trying to, save her kids. And I don't think it always worked together. And not that, like, you needed to take Christine out or take America Chavez out, but it seemed like it needed some ironing. It just felt a little rough.
Yeah, it just seems, I agree that there's like, they had some ideas and they couldn't nail it down to one, so they tried to have their cake and eat it too, and they should have just like stuck with one and like really lean into it. So, I mean, let's just get into the first half, and then we'll get to the fun stuff in the back half. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of performances-wise, I think Wanda, Elizabeth Olsen, always good.
Always good.
She always brings her A game.
Yeah. I think she did have the benefit of, like, as soon as she was 2 days off of WandaVision and then started filming this immediately, because I guess this was supposed to come out after Spider-Man.
Okay.
That, I guess, America Chavez was going to show up in Spider-Man.
That's right.
But because of COVID and scheduling and stuff, they had to flip it around. So I can give them a break on having some issues with writing, because they, these movies are like in production before they even have a director attached. They have action sequences already in mind, and so then when you're getting closer and closer to shooting, sometimes it's on the fly. Sometimes it's for the better, because Spider-Man was completely rewritten so they could have the multiple Spider-Man. It was supposed to be just a Craven story, and that made that movie so much better. This one, I don't know if it did, but maybe this could have been better if they had another 6 months to work on it.
Okay.
But that's fine. So yeah, characters, Wanda, great. And finally seeing her go nuts. And when you see what she does in this, she should have been able to stop Thanos all on her own. I mean, she wrecks shop in this movie.
Well, that's kind of what's weird. It's just like sometimes she's wrecking shop. It's like, wow, she really is as strong as they say. And then other times she's just like fighting someone's like, why is this fight going on this long? And it's just like, because it would be boring if she was just like mass murdering everyone instantly, which I totally understand, and I can forgive that. But from like a viewer standpoint, it's just like you keep pitching her as like the super strong thing, but she's like, well, we'll get to that later. Yeah. Anyway,
but she does do good things like, hey, look, I'm still being the nice guy here. I may be slaughtering all of you, but I can be worse. So it's like, even if she's...
I'm being reasonable. Yeah. That's what they kept saying.
Exactly. So even if it's like, she's never really having trouble. It's always just kind of a, oh, I trapped you in this little thing. It's going to take you a minute to get out. You're going to get out. But it's going to take you. There's only one part where she's chasing them down a hallway and they're closing doors. I was going to get to that. And it's just like, come on. You could collapse this whole tunnel on them instantly.
Yeah, it was... They were like... Well, it wasn't just that they were going through the tunnel and like, she was following them and they were trying to slow her down, and it's like, but like they were closing doors in front of her and she was instantly blasting through it, and they get to one and they close a door, and then there's like this scary sequence where it's like, is she gonna come through? It's like, well, of course she can go through. She just did it a bunch of times, but then it's just like a jump scare moment where she comes out of nowhere.
I hated that,
which was dumb, but okay, fine. And then they immediately they go into the next room, close that door, and then like he collapses water on her, and it's like, I bought some. That won't stop her, but I bought some time. It's like we've seen this woman like move entire like giant fortresses in this movie, but like a small room filled with water is the thing that like you saw her burst through 5 of those doors already. That would have slowed her down a second, not 2 minutes while you do this whole other bit.
Yeah.
Like, that part infuriated me.
Yeah.
But, once again, we'll get to it.
So yeah, starting from the beginning.
The movie opens, and Doctor Strange is going to Christine's wedding.
No.
Well, no, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, so alternate Doctor Strange, where his gray isn't at his temples. It's up on his forehead. Still, cool look.
Yeah, sure.
He's in some weird dimension with America Chavez and some weird mummy monster, spring bandage monster thing is chasing him. I don't know what it was, but it was cool looking.
Yeah, it was like a mix of... you know what it looked like? It looked like the monsters from Edge of Tomorrow. Kind of like a warpy...
Yeah. Like a mummy version of that.
Kind of, yeah. I wouldn't say mummy. I get what you're going for.
It's all wrapped up, bandagey, springy looking. And they're trying to get some, The
Book of Ashanti.
Yes. Actually, it's Vashanti. I kept thinking they were saying Ashanti the whole time, but I guess it's with a V. Vashanti.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, I was waiting for Ja Rule to come in.
I mean, that's what I was thinking of too, but I wasn't going to bring it up.
And then they're trying to get this book for whatever reason, and Doctor Strange is like, we're not going to do it. I'm going to have to kill you, take your power in order to stop this thing. But she's able to get through. He gets killed by the monster, and she goes in through another portal, and then
our Doctor Strange,
to our
Earth
world,
616,
Earth 616. But Doctor Strange wakes up, thought he had a nightmare, and then he gets ready and goes to Christine's wedding.
Married to some dude who I think he gets one line in the movie, and we don't really see anything. But he confesses his love for her again, and she's just like, it would never work out.
And plus, you got snapped for 5 years, and I'm assuming she just moved on in that time.
Yeah, I mean, or she got snapped.
Maybe she did. They never say.
They never. She doesn't. I wouldn't say she looks 5 years older, but I guess 5 years doesn't necessarily make you look that much different. No. Anyway, so then Squid Monster shows up, going after America Chavez. Doctor Strange and Wong fight off Squid Monster.
Nope.
This is the first part of the movie where it's just like, ugh, I don't love this.
Yeah.
Because I just think a lot of the effects in this movie don't look good.
It's mainly when it like picks up a person and it changes into a digital double of them, and they're wiggling around, and it looks really obvious that it's not a person in a harness on strings or anything like that. Like, no, that's completely digital. I think the Gigantos or whatever he's called.
Yeah, I mean, I think the creature itself looked good. But when it interacted with another human, with something real, that's when it looked bad. Like, there's a lot of green screen in this movie, which it has to be because they're traveling through the multiverse, and that's fine. But it's just weird that, okay, if Disney is the biggest media content creator in the world, and these movies are constantly successful, they're constantly making huge sums of money, there shouldn't be a reason that it looks bad.
I think we've gotten to a point of special effects where they're good enough that you don't have to make them perfect, because it's one of those things in special effects where if you don't do certain things, it's obvious. If you do certain things, people don't notice, and why do all this extra hard work? And they're just so successful with their effects that they can get away with, this is going to look a little cheap, but it's only on screen for 2 seconds, so who cares? Because everything else, we'll focus on this, and this is going to be really good. We could dial it down to 80% good on this one moment, because it's early, whatever. Once we start flipping through multiverses, you won't even remember this octopus thing.
Yeah, well, I understand from a business standpoint, like, okay, it doesn't need to be perfect, so why spend all this money? But I'm not saying it has to be Avatar. It's just, I don't know. This is the first, like, there's always been certain scenes or shots in, Marvel movies where it's like, oh, this doesn't look that great. Or, I'm sure it's been a long time since I watched Iron Man 1 or The Incredible Hulk. Like, if you go back there, I'm like, wow, this looks like crap compared to whatever.
I just recently rewatched Incredible Hulk. Yeah. I mean, it was just on HBO, and I turned it on while I was thinking of something else to watch, and I ended up watching most of it, and it still looks pretty good.
Okay. Well, that even enhances my point, where it's just like, this movie was I feel like the first time I really noticed that the effects just like weren't up to what I was expecting. Like, just it just felt like the whole movie was green screen.
I think Spider-Man had some of that too.
And it really kind of took me out of it. And I know for the layman's, the everyday people, they're just happy to see superhero doing superhero stuff. But for anyone listening, we have a cat in the room, so apologies. But yeah, the special effects in this movie didn't work for me. I mean, they were fine, I think, in the last hour. Like, it really just felt like, all right, we're just gonna fuck this first hour, and as long as we nail this last hour, that's what everyone's gonna remember and go like, okay, this is the big final sequence, like this is the cool part, great. And like that's just what they went with. So yeah, I didn't love the special effects in this movie. And
so he saves her.
Yeah. And now it's a team up movie, and he goes to Wanda and is like, hey, I need your help. And just from their brief conversation, he's like, oh, I didn't tell you her name, but you knew her name. And it's like, okay, I'm the one going after her.
Yeah.
I have the Darkhold, which is the book she has at the end of WandaVision. It's just it's interesting that you have the TV show make her like the villain to like finally like accept what happened and kind of like come out of it, and then immediately go like, well, never mind, she's a villain again. But she's a villain because the Darkhold has altered her mind, and like I'm okay with that justification. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just it's always funny that this whole series has been like slow build up to big things. It's like, oh, she's a villain. Just kidding. Just kidding again. It's like she's a villain again.
Yeah. Well, at the end of WandaVision, that post-credit scenes, you could hear her kids going like, Mom, help us. So it could be something that she's just been kind of poisoned by this thing. She thinks her kids are in trouble. She needs to investigate, and she just becomes like almost an addict.
Sure. I mean, I like the justification of like what her mission is. It makes sense.
But one thing I didn't know Wanda was the villain in this. I figured it was either Mordo or something from another dimension. You see the crazy monsters in it. I didn't know it was going to be Wanda. I thought Wanda was going to have a small part in this to help out. So that was nice because she's an excellent villain. But I kind of wish they would have revealed it a little differently. If he... Because it's just kind of like, oh, I'm here to help. Psych, I'm a bad guy. And it's just on a dime. So it wouldn't be bad if she's like, oh, I would love to help. And then he takes her to... Yeah,
there's a betrayal scene.
Yeah, and then, you get little hints. And then it's like, then she drops the ball of she knows the monsters that she's been sending after her. And it's like, well, how do you know this? And it happened a little too quick for me.
Yeah. Maybe she should have helped them get to the book of Vishanti or Ashanti or whatever. And then as they're about to reach for it, that's when she destroys it. She's like, I'm the villain.
Yeah.
And then yada, 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 here's my whole reasoning. But, whatever.
So I got a question about her going after America.
Okay.
She sent that weird Edge of Tomorrow monster. She sent... And that was in a universe... that I would assume she's not there because there's a lot of stuff going on this.
There's a lot of inconsistent. There's a lot of things I have a problem with in this movie. But go ahead.
You can like leap into, or she can leap into herself in that world and puppet that body. So and then I'm assuming she only sent that weird monster at the beginning because there isn't a version of herself there. So she has to send other creatures to get it. And if that's the case, why would she send a monster to get her on the same reality that she's actually in? Why wasn't she just in New York trying to get her herself?
Well, I mean, once again, this is a very weak justification. But I mean, he does say, like, why'd you send the monsters? It's like, because that was me being reasonable, because I didn't want to, like...
Sure, but I mean, she could have shown up and been like... Because America didn't know who Wanda was and just pretended to be like, oh, is there something after you? I'll help you and take her under her wing. It's like her plan was not the smartest plan.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's movie logic, which, is one of the minor problems or major problems with this movie. And maybe you can enlighten me because you have a great memory when it comes to stuff that you've watched, and usually I watch something and it's out of my mind almost instantly. So they're just like, oh, Wanda's a super powerful witch. She can warp reality to her will. She can create essentially anything. Why can't she recreate her kids again? Is it just like...
Yeah.
Because, she made she made all that stuff up. She created her kids in the first place.
Yeah.
There's all those realities where she's like with her kids, and
yeah, in all those realities where her kids exist, did she make them the same way as she did in WandaVision, or did she naturally give birth to them in some of them?
Because if her justification was like, oh, I can't make them here because they wouldn't be mine, that doesn't make sense, because then it's like, well, then the other version, or like you're transferring your consciousness, like
they're not yours.
Either she could have transferred it, she could have just avoided all the like capturing America, and because if she had the Darkhold that allowed her to dreamwalk in the first place, I mean, maybe she couldn't sustain being permanently in that world. Like that's fine.
They should have mentioned that. It's like I could only be there for 2 hours and then I get pulled
it's
back.
like, okay, so I can't keep dreamwalking back into this chick, or it's like.
Or you dream walk into one, and then you can't go back into that. Like, dream walking is a one-time thing. So she has to and she's gone into every reality where she has her kids, and now she's done. She can't go into any other place to get her kids because she's done them all. That's why she needs to, like, physically go into another dimension. I think that's a little better justification.
Yeah, I mean, if it was, if it's just a matter of, like, oh, I can't stay there permanently, or I need to, just get to that universe so I can kill that Wanda. It's like you could have gotten to America and gone like, oh, there's a problem in this and it's like obviously she couldn't control her powers. It's like they could have worked together. Yeah, they could have.
She could have unlocked it in her mind.
Wanda could have just like shown up, and be like, hey, America, I'm Wanda. I'm a hero of this universe. You probably met me, or yada yada yada, and then like helped her use her like train and use her powers, and then like those two could have traveled the multiverse until they got to a point, and then she just betrays.
Yeah.
Her there, and it's like, okay, I'm in the world I want to be in, and then that's the. It's like, once again, it's movie stuff. That wouldn't be an exciting movie if Wanda just like had a good plan. But there's just one of those inconsistencies where it's just like I don't quite understand the limits of her powers, and
her limits are whatever we want it to be.
Exactly, and that's just lazy writing to me.
Yeah.
And I know like you're dealing with a huge world, and you got to move pieces, and you can't make your character too powerful, because then they just you're right around for everything, but then but if your character can warp reality, that is the right around. There should be that character should be able to do anything.
Yeah, and especially in a now you have a universe where a character can do anything they imagine, and as many possible versions of anything ever. You kind of have an opening for anything.
Yeah,
and so I guess it is kind of hard to write around that. So you almost have to be a bad writer in order to make it work, no matter what you do. Not saying that this writer is a bad writer, but you're kind of... It's
because Loki's, I think, really well written.
But this is just like with all comic books is a character learns a new power and they're too strong, and well, if Superman was there all the time, all villains would die because he could just punch their heads off, and so you got to nerf people, and so I get it. We're really just kind of like nitpicking.
Sure.
Absolutely.
But I mean, when you say the term nitpicking, you're just like, the movie's great, but here's like little tiny things.
Yeah.
Where this is
not
just
a
like,
nitpick.
This is just all rule breaking stuff that like doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So it's just like, is it nitpicking in the sense like, yes, I can still enjoy the movie. It still tracks. It still works in quotation marks. But if you like just actually look at it, you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So. Anyway,
so
all that stuff aside,
she shows up to Kamatage. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, this is the first sequence that I actively didn't like. It's like the squid fight I enjoyed, but I just thought it looked bad. This I thought was a waste of a moment, and it just seemed like a big action piece to just we just need a big action set piece in this scene, because you have this menacing dark cloud that she travels in and looks really intimidating, and then she comes out of the cloud. And then the next shot, the cloud is just gone. So now she's just in the bright sky, flying around, shooting beams at all these wizards, and they're all shooting magic arrows and magic cannons and stuff. Which is fine. I can enjoy that kind of stuff, but it just seemed like a waste. That this should have been the scene. If I was directing this and you were trying to this movie was slightly pitched as a horror movie or the first kind of scary Marvel movie, but that cloud should have rolled over all of Kamatage. And you don't see it, and that's when all these scary monsters that she summoned come out, and they're they just start pulling people into the smoke, the mist and stuff, and so Doctor Strange has to fight these monsters, and meanwhile Wanda's slowly moving, and you could still have this big battle sequence, but it'd just be terrifying because you can't see these creatures, and they're all differently designed. And it could have been a real exciting, scary, different scene, but instead you just have people shooting energy at each other, which is so boring at this point. And then they all get like
Vaporized.
vaporized, or most of the people get vaporized instantly. And then there's one character later who ends up destroying the Darkhold, which is like this it just felt so weird and out of place.
Yeah, she just stabs it with a knife and it just burns up.
Well, no, I mean, that part I'm like kind of fine with.
Yeah.
It's just like this character who seemed like she was close with Wong, who's never seen her before.
Yeah.
She's never done anything before, and she's just like, don't worry, you're too important to destroy it, so I will. And then she dies, and she has like a tear rolling down her face, and she's
Am I
like,
supposed to? Yeah.
Does she even have a name? Like,
I'm sure she does, but it's like, are we really supposed to care about you?
Like, in that moment, I was like, I think I'm supposed to like feel bad at this moment, but it's like, I have no investment in that character who we met this movie and didn't do anything.
You just need a scene of like they arrive there and she's the one that greets America and like, oh, welcome, and give a little explanation of where they are and let me show you to your quarters, and then like Wong and her, they just give each other a little look and a little wink, and then that's kind of all you need. Oh, there's something there, a friendship, a flirtation or whatever, but she's just there and then dies.
I couldn't tell if she was a friend, a lover, like a student. I didn't know what her role was. It's just so that bit was weird.
Yeah, there to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
So she just lays waste to everybody.
Yeah.
And they trap her in the mirror dimension again, and she's able to get out through reflections.
See, like,
that was pretty fun.
I liked the mirror dimension. I liked that she was like popping through reflections and all that stuff. Like she did kind of like this ring girl crawl out of
or like, Pennywise coming out of the refrigerator.
Yeah, like all that, like that stuff I liked. And then from that point on, it's the Doctor Strange in America.
They have to. They get sucked into a.
She does her star.
Yeah, because it happens only when she doesn't know how to control it. Yeah. It's only when she's stressed out.
And then you have this sequence where they're like hopping through like 30 different universes that you only see for like 2 seconds, and like I need to see a YouTube video where they like pause it and talk about it. It's like
every single one,
because like I tried catching what I could, and I got nothing for you. Yeah. I think there was like a future world, there was a paint world.
There's a paint world, there's an animated one, there was one with dinosaurs. I want to say, I don't know for sure, they do just kind of seem to tumble through a New York City street. It kind of looked like Spider-Man 2 when Dr. Octopus throws the car into the cafe. I'm thinking they passed by that in one of those dimensions. I can't say for sure, but it just kind of looked like it. We get a lot of cool little worlds, and then we end up in 929, 939, something.
Who cares?
It was another sort of like 616s.
So yeah, I mean, that sequence was fun. The world we end up in, when they first show up, I was like, oh, this world's beautiful. Yeah. And then once they're walking around, I fucking hate this world.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
It just like, one, and then you don't need to explain everything to me. I don't need to go into this world like, well, what's the history? Why are these things like this? Mm-hmm. It's like this. It looked like this beautiful utopia in New York, which is like, oh, this is New York at its finest because there's flowers and all this like beautiful vegetation growing. And it's like, but everyone's wearing like weird gray clothes and like
that's the future, baby.
And like fedoras or whatever. It just, I didn't understand why. Like, there's no context, and once again, there doesn't need to be. But it was weird to me. And then they like step on this weird memory thing just for the sake of like, well, we need to see the motivation for America. It's like, why would this thing be here? Like, what is this thing's function?
It's just right on the street, and it's just like, hey, you can pay $19.95 and we'll look at your memories, or just step on this for free and it'll just happen anyways.
And it's like, oh, okay, so if that machine's there, fine. But it's like, you would think that only the person who was using it would be able to see it, but America could see the memory too. It's like anyone walking, but like, what if Doctor Strange wanted to have a memory of him like
losing his virginity, or like the time he slipped in shit in a bar.
It's like, because it doesn't seem like does it just pull up your most traumatic memories,
or just what's on your mind at the time.
It just seemed like that it was a weird throwaway tool to like have this scene. The exposition thing. And I don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I want to talk about America's past.
Okay.
So she's on some. Her dimensions almost seems like Star Trek or something. They were wearing weird jumpsuits, and they're just in nature. And a bee flies on her, and that's enough. That's the triggering event that banishes her moms to another dimension.
That bee was sent by Thanos, though.
A bee? Really? It couldn't have been like she's leaning down by the water and some weird alligator comes up and that scares the shit out of her. I can get that. Or there's a rabid dog, but a bee? It's like that caused all this. A B. Weird.
I mean, I don't really care much about what was the inciting incident because, like, you know, bees scare small children.
Sure.
Like,
but they didn't even say it's like I'm deathly allergic and it freaked me out. It's just like, nope, a bee landed on me and that was enough.
Yeah, I mean, it was of all like the, you know, hero origin stories of like how I lost my parents.
Yeah,
it's definitely like the most uninteresting one, I would think.
Yeah,
and it definitely lays the groundwork to be like, well, they could very much be alive, and they probably are. Or
probably
at least one of them
we'll
is.
see it when she gets her own spin-off show.
Yeah, but well, I want to talk about America Chavez real quick.
Cool.
I didn't like her in this, and it's not that I think she was a bad actress or anything. Like, I think she's fine, and like I look forward to seeing her like on the Young Avengers team or whatever she does in the future. But like, they give her character like nothing to do in this movie.
Yeah, just
like,
to go like, I can't control it until I need to.
Yeah. It just like she's just an exposition machine. She doesn't grow like her dynamic with Doctor Strange like wasn't fun. It wasn't like a Tony and Peter kind of thing where it was just they had chemistry and bounced off each other, or wasn't like Doctor Strange is kind of like the serious guy and she's like the fun-loving precocious kid who's like kind of getting on his nerves, and they like grow to like each other. It was just like, nope, I need to protect you. Oh, you're my best hope of surviving, traveling the multiverse. Like there was I didn't buy their like kinship. I didn't buy Rachel McAdams' love interest. Like I don't like Rachel McAdams and him together. Once again, like Rachel McAdams is a perfectly fine actress in this, and I'm glad they gave her more to do. But like, there's just no chemistry with Benedict Cumberbatch with like anyone in this movie. Like even Wong, like he did only with like that's his most chemistry he's got, but they're barely in it together.
Yeah.
So
I think it could have had a little more like Logan, their dynamic of just being like, I know I got to protect you, but you're really on my fucking nerves.
Yeah.
And if she was, but if she was an obnoxious brat, I would hate her so much more, and I wouldn't like her. So she didn't get on my nerves, but Doctor Strange is putting the lives of all these people on the line to save this person that he does like
just met.
It just met, and it's like, I know obviously you don't want Wanda to win and everything, but if you look at the grand scheme of things, let her kill this chick, let her go, have her kids, and she won't bug you anymore. And then now you've removed a huge threat off our Earth to save this one person. If there was something important about her besides being like the only version of herself in all multiverses, which I really like.
I do too, and I want to talk about that in a second.
Yeah, there's just nothing to her that's like, we have to save this person besides I'm a hero and we don't trade lives. And because Doctor Strange is kind of a dick, I can see him working it out in his head of like, okay, maybe we can trade a life.
Yeah, if Wanda's the most evil, Doctor Strange is like number 2, because he's the one who works with mystic arts, dark arts. Like, there's necromancy at the end of this movie. Yeah. It's like, he would be the guy to kill somebody.
He goes bad in other dimensions.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the What If show, which is the first Marvel property I actively didn't like.
That's the other show, What If.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah. That's like that episode, like where he's like constantly like reliving the same or like trying to save. Like that would have been good, I think, in this movie, or maybe not necessarily in this movie, but like there's a good story there that was just condensed to like a 25-minute bit. And like you see evil versions of Doctor Strange who like he destroyed his universe to like that would have been cool to see in a live action film, but you just got a very small version of an incursion or whatever. And
maybe you have like he wants to save her because say she does know so much about Doctor Strange, because that's the person she seeks out in every universe, that she makes an ultimatum of, I'll take you to the place where you can be with Christine, who loves you, and you died, and you can go and kind of fill that void. And he thinks like, okay, do it for selfish reasons. Because it's like they touch on his relationship with Christine, but it's not all that interesting. But if he's willing to be like, okay, I'll just step in and do this thing if I help you, sure, cool. It's just a little something more than just being, I'm the hero and I have to save you because you're the person that needs saving.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not Captain America, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that maybe like, oh, well, we don't want to do another Captain America thing, but that could have been the interesting like contradiction of like Wanda versus Doctor Strange. It's like, okay, she wants to like murder a bunch of people in order to get to her, to get this universe to be with her children and whatever. And it's like, well, we don't do that. Or it's like, America can just take you there and like, yeah, what if this movie ended where it's like, yeah, I stopped Wanda from doing the thing, but then I did the thing because I went to a universe where I could be with Christine.
Yeah.
And that could have been real interesting. And then Doctor Strange is like, I'm not part of it. And then you can just have her come get him whenever they need him.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I know you want to pitch him as the character who, is maybe the best version of Strange. He's the good guy. He's like, he knows in all these other universes it never works out or doesn't work out. And so to him to go there, it would be a lie. That's fine. I can get that. It's like, so he's not going to do the Captain America thing where it's like, I'm not going to cheat the system and have the life I want. I'm going to have the life that is mine. That's fine. But I think it might have been an interesting ending if like, nope, Doctor Strange left this universe to be with Christine, and now he's just like not in there anymore.
Yeah.
But you can call him back whenever you need him to.
Yeah, he's gone, and then that's a fun thing 5 years down the line when we have the Young Avengers, and it's like, we can't defeat this person. We need someone mystical, and America's like, I think I know someone. Go to that dimension, and he's just like, no, I kind of gave up all the arts. I have a life. I have kids now. But I understand why they don't do that, because it's like, sure, we want a Doctor Strange 3. Yeah.
No. And I mean, maybe that's something they do down the line.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fun thing about America, and also kind of like the bad thing is that I think she's going to be the new character that pops up more than like anyone else.
Sure.
Because she's the person who's like, I can warp through all these different multiverses. I can banish people to I can open up this portal, throw someone in there. They can't get out. Mm-hmm. She's going to be the thing that takes people in and out of universes. Like, this character dies. Guess what? America can just go get a new one.
Yeah. But that's such a bad thing. That
is.
It's a crutch that it's like, well, if we ever write ourselves into a corner, who cares? We got America Chavez. She can get another one.
That it's either going to be, how are we going to nerf her powers?
Yeah.
Kind of like how the Eternals like, oh, well, now the little girl's a kid, so she can age up as the story goes along.
Or like Quicksilver. Oh, he can run fast and do anything. Let's break his leg instantly. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see like how her powers get taken away.
Or Professor X. It's always like Professor X. If he was there, he could just handle any issue. Nope, he's in a coma. Nope, he's in a dreamscape.
Yeah,
nope,
exactly.
She's gonna get knocked out a lot. She'll be like, I got this, and goes to punch someone. She's gonna get hit against a concrete pillar and knocked down. Like, oh crap.
Because there was a lot of that in this movie too.
Yeah.
And every Marvel movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Everyone gets hit.
Anyway, but so we got a little sidetracked.
Sure.
So back in this universe that America and Doctor Strange end up in,
we get our first real cameo.
Yeah. Mr. Bruce Campbell.
Mm-hmm. Pizza Poppa.
Pizza Poppa. What did you think about this bit?
I think it was unnecessarily...
Because it pays off later.
Yeah, it's unnecessarily cruel
yeah.
of Doctor Strange. It's like, okay, America just stole from this man. He just wants his money.
Thank you.
So you're going to have him beat himself up for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
To what? Teach him a lesson?
Yeah. This is the most evil thing Doctor Strange does in this movie. He summons like demons and stuff, but this is the most messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think that... Well, one, I didn't think the sequence was funny. When it plays out later, my theater howled at the...
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it's the end tag of this movie. Anyone who's listened has probably watched the movie.
Yeah.
It's the post-credit sequence where he's just like, oh, it finally stopped. And like looks in the camera. My theater was cackling. They thought it was so funny. I sat there. I was like, that was the dumbest bit Marvel's ever done. I hated that.
Oh, wow. I love that.
No.
I was the only one in my theater that actually laughed at that.
I like Bruce Campbell just as much as everybody else. And I knew he's going to pop up because it's a Raimi film. But yeah, I was angry that like this chick stole from this guy. And the right around for that was, oh, food is free in most universes. Why would it be? But you know what? Fine. I don't know the multiverse.
I think it's a little social commentary jab.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, Doctor Strange just like has this guy kick his own ass for 3 weeks for no reason other than like trying to get his money.
Yeah,
and then
you do the he gets squirted with mustard. It makes him slip. He pulls his cart down. All the meatball or the Pizza Poppa balls fall on him.
It was so like 1950s humor that it felt so out of place in this movie. Yeah. I hated this joke. I'm sorry if everyone loved it. I hated this joke.
The movie stuff I didn't love, but I like that I think it comes around and it wins me with that final tag.
No, I think you underutilize Bruce Campbell. I mean, I know he always just does a very small cameo, so it's not like I need to see him do some big sequence or like he comes in, he's like, I'm a secret sorcerer supreme or something. But just, I think you could have done a better joke than like, oh, Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. I hated it.
I'll have a pitch for something when we get to it of how to better use Bruce Campbell.
All right.
Okay, but you wanted to talk about that there's one version of America Chavez.
Oh, yes, thank you. I love that there's only one America Chavez, and it's fine that it wasn't in this movie. I imagine that this is where this character can go in either her own series or a future film. But I think since this character didn't really have much of a character in this film, it should have, I would have liked to have seen the concept of, like, I've traveled the whole multiverse. Everyone always has somebody, like, there's always people for everyone, like, but I'm always alone. Like, I only had one home, and that was taken away from me, or, like, two people who love me, and now they're gone.
And I can't even confide in myself.
Yeah, it's like, there's no other version of me. I'm the most lonely person in the whole world. And I have the power to see anyone, and I feel lonely. Like, that's a character right there.
Yeah.
Like, that's character motivation, and, like, why she would be, like, sad, or, like, why Doctor Strange, like, connected with her, because, like, I need to help this kid who's depressed because she's literally alone, not in this universe, but every universe. But no, it's just like, I'm still kind of a precocious kid who's, like, who wears, jean jackets with a star in, and, like, I want to have fun. It's like, I mean, not that she was, like, precocious or whatever that means, but it's just like, it was a waste of character motivation, which, once again, hopefully down the line, maybe they do something with that, but because then you could have given her anything with that, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah, you take a character like Doctor Strange, and it didn't work out for you with Christine here. Well, there's a universe where it does, and you can go into that. It's like, if I have a relationship with someone in this universe and I fuck it up and I want to go into a different one, well, that person never had a relationship with me in that universe, so I would have to almost start from scratch. She doesn't even get to, like, have that cheat code of being able to, like, slip into another life. Yeah, there's good stuff there. So her powers, when she goes into the dimension, it makes a big star, and her name is America, and she's got red, white, and blue on her thing.
Why isn't she Captain America? Sorry, go ahead.
And her parents even have, like, star logos on their outfits, so it made me think, like, I mean, it just seemed very Star Trek. But in her world, is there an America? Because it's an odd name to give anybody, especially if you live in that country. You know, it's like an Australian naming their kid Australia. No Australian has the name of Australia. That would be so weird. So I think that could have been a fun joke of her finding out, like, this huge continent is actually named America, and it's like, oh, really? Oh, it just means hope in my land, or whatever,
The star means hope where I come from.
Yeah, something like that.
Jesus
Just a thought.
I don't know enough about that character. Like, I hadn't heard of this character until, through the internet talks and Reddit forums. It was like, oh yeah, they've announced that this actress was cast as America Chavez. I was like, who? Yeah,
I know her. There's I think it's called Marvel Rising. It's on Disney Plus. It has, like, Squirrel Girl, like Milana Vayntrub, and it has Spider-Gwen. It has Quake from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it's kind of like smaller team, and she was in that, and I was like, oh, okay, I think I've heard of this character is going to be in Doctor Strange. So I had a little bit of information, but all it really seemed like in that was she had super strength, and whenever she punched things, a star would form. I don't think they really even, like, go into the dimensional powers.
Gotcha.
So I wonder, it's like, is she a mutant? Is she an Inhuman? I don't know. And she's not a metahuman, because that's a DC thing, but I just wonder what her powers in her world, if she's the only one that has this, or do they have magic?
I feel like from the context of this movie, at least, she's the only person. Or you just mean, like, other
anything?
People?
Yeah. Okay, is there a Thor in that world? Are there people who can fly? Are there Eternals? Things like that. Or it's just a freak thing. It'd be like you being able to turn into gas right in front of me. Like, wow, you're the first person that could turn into a gas.
I mean, maybe we'll see in the future, because Marvel, has altered lots of different things.
Sure. But I'll be
of this.
If, like, we get a Young Avengers and we get, like, new Hawkeye, Yelena, America, like, I think they'll be real fun to see together. I think she will add a really good dynamic with other younger characters.
Yeah, I mean, clearly that's what they're heading towards, and I like that they're heading towards it. The new generation of heroes. But until that happens, of all the new characters that you've introduced, she's my least favorite so far. But that's only because it's not her fault. It's the script where it's just they just didn't give her a character arc yet.
If they had their original plan where she was going to be in Spider-Man, I could totally see her and Ned like being a thing. I could see Ned seeing America Chavez and being into her. And then if he didn't get his brain wiped, and so now he doesn't know he has a little bit of magic in his power, if for some reason he also went to Comitage, I could see them being friends. I think America and Ned would make a fun friend couple. Or relationship, whatever it is. Oh, wait.
She's
bi. No, she's bi.
Oh, bi?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we are in this new high-tech world, which is the world I think we should be in anyways. Like, because of Stark's technology and Asgardian things, the world should have hover cars by now. Why isn't the repulsor technology used for everything? I feel like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we would have advanced, especially with, like, the Vulture found a bunch of Chitauri stuff, and he was able to make things. Why haven't other people done that, and why haven't we expanded our technology?
I think that they might have written that as, like, governments have, like, blacklisted all this kind of stuff, and, like, there's hardcore crackdowns. Like, yes, there's...
But when scientists find out, like, when Skarsgård finds out that there's gods out there that are practically gods. They're more like aliens, but they use magic that is more like science to them. Once you know that knowledge, everything changes. And so you're able to start working on things differently. And I kind of wish we would see that. So the world that we're in now is really what I expect 616 to look like. Anyways, so 616 is a universe where Doctor Strange has died defeating Thanos.
Well, I thought our Strange was 616.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 919 or 939, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He died fighting Thanos. So they're like, oh, well, there's got to be a sanctum here. Let's go figure it out. And Mordo shows up, which I was happy that he was here.
Yep.
It sucks. He's really gotten kind of the shaft. He was like a good guy in the first one, realizes that there's too many sorcerers, too much magic, and he's going to hunt them down. And that should have been the sequel that we got, because it has been like, 6 years since Doctor Strange?
6, yeah. 2016 was...
Yeah. So if we got one like 3 years later, it definitely probably would have been Mordo is trying to contact Dormammu to do whatever. So,
yeah, I figured the sequel would have been Strange versus Mordo, and Mordo would like ultimately get away by the end, but he would have released Dormammu or Mephisto or some sort of great villain who would be the third one, who they would team up together in order to put them away, and that's when Mordo would die or whatever.
Sure,
easy writing, but it's there.
Excuse me. We meet Mordo, and he's just like, Doctor Strange, my friend, my buddy, it's so good to see you, and come in and have some tea. And he pretty much poisons him and Doctor Strange and America.
Give him some sleepy time tea.
And then they wake up in, like, containment chambers. That happens to be run by Christine. She went from being a nurse to the
head scientist of a super advanced Illuminati built facility.
So yeah, this is the point where I was like, oh yeah, the Illuminati. Who's gonna be here? Because we knew from the trailer that there's quite possibly a cameo spoiled.
Yeah, I can't believe they did that.
That is so bullshit.
Yeah.
Imagine how insane it would have been to see Professor X in this movie without any prior knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, there's another one where, there were people in my theater who were like, no way, what? Whoa! Yeah. And so there wasn't that fanfare for when Professor X shows up. Spoilers, obviously. But, it's just like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
You just had to wait. I mean, I guess if it's just like, who cares? We have another one you won't see coming. Yeah. So we'll just get the hype of you coming in. It's like, oh, you think you know everything, but here's another thing.
Since we know
don't do that.
That Fantastic Four is coming eventually, seeing him and being the fan casting that everybody's been asking for, it's like, oh, okay, they did it. And it's not amazing. It's not fantastic. But Professor X is not even like the MCU and the X-Men universes have never really connected except for that little Quicksilver thing in WandaVision.
Sure. Yeah.
and to spoil that in the trailer, they're so good about digitally removing people or adding things to throw you off. They should have just used any other voice. Like, I don't know. Who would be a good person to put in to make people hype, and then they go, psych, it's not
like
that.
Even if they put in Ian McKellen's Magneto voice, so we think like, oh, Magneto shows up.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you still get the X-Men reveal, but it's a different person.
Sure.
Like, whoa.
But maybe that's still obvious. Maybe you do.
Maybe, yeah, but
maybe you just go, you make it Tony Stark's voice, and you go, oh, okay, so in this world, Tony Stark's still alive. We're going to get the return of Robert Downey Jr. That's fun. He's been dead for a few years. Cool. He's finally back. And then
he's a smart guy. He'd be a leader on the Illuminati.
I mean, he is in the comics, you know? So it's like we have the spoiled one, we have the obvious fan service one, and then we have the one that who would have guessed? And I'm sure most people in the theater don't even know who this person is, and because they explain who it is, it's like, oh, this is just a new character, whatever, I don't need to know any sort of backstory. And even diehard Marvel fans, some of them haven't watched this show. I mean, I watched the show. I watched that show. I'm a fucking psycho. I watched it week to week. I had that shit DVR'd. But we're talking about Black Bolt from Inhumans, the worst thing that Marvel has made. It is really bad. But if you compare it to any of like the CW stuff, it's just that sort of level. It's just cheap. It's just, okay, this would probably be really interesting if you had $1 million an episode, but you don't. So everything looks like Sci-Fi Channel corridors, and but Anson Mount comes back.
Yep. Inhumans crawled so WandaVision could fly.
And it's great because I bet he was happy to come back and do it, but like knowing you do a show and you put your heart into it and everybody goes, this is the worst thing ever, you suck. It's hard to go, yeah, I want to go back to the character that everybody hates because it's on such a bad show. But he's being a good sport about it, and because he dies, he doesn't ever have to come back.
It's like 2 days on set, tops. Here's a ton of money, and you have one line of dialogue.
Yep.
It's like, cool, sign me up.
And it's like, I like it because they give him the suit in the show. He never had the little tuning fork on his head. He didn't even have a mask. They went all out on this, and I'm very happy.
In the grand scheme of things, like if he showed up on screen, like in that suit, if he had his own movie, be like, that is kind of fucking stupid looking.
It is.
But it works in this movie because it's supposed to be kind of weird and out there.
And he is on the Illuminati in the comic book, so it makes sense. So for any of those who don't know who the Illuminati are, they are the smartest people in the Marvel comic books that... Oh, who brings them together? I think it was... Not Mr. Fantastic. I think it's Tony Stark. I think Tony Stark brings them all together in Wakanda, and so it's Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Tony Stark, Black Bolt, Mr. Fantastic, Namor, and Professor X. I think that's all of them.
What a crew!
Yeah, and they are
what a boy
just, band. They were the ones that were responsible for sending Hulk into space because he was too much of a threat, and caused the World War Hulk stuff happening. I think in the original, Black Panther is like, no, I don't want to be a part of this, and he leaves, but he eventually joins later. So we knew we were getting the Illuminati on this, and we had an idea that, okay, we know Professor X, and I think a lot of people assumed there would have been another Doctor Strange on there, and maybe a Captain America or an Iron Man, but we get a really weird group of people.
Yeah. I mean, well, there was rumors, for those who don't follow the Marvel rumor train, that Tom Cruise was going to come in as a Supreme Iron Man, which is, I guess, like the ultimate version of Iron Man, because he was supposed to be the original casting before Robert Downey moved in, and that would have been just like a fun little we got Tom Cruise, and it's like a fun little
Tom Cruise in the MCU. That's crazy.
Yeah, and he would have one day of filming. Here's a ton of money.
You don't need it, but you can jump off this building if you want. If you want to do some crazy stuff, here, make your own repulsors and try to fly somewhere.
I was gonna say Tom Cruise would have somehow developed actual magic, like Scientology, the midichlorians or whatever that they believe in would have given him magic to actually fight a real witch. Because Tom Cruise does everything.
I think that would have been a better person on there, because one, it's a crazy good cameo, because everybody on here pretty much makes sense except two. So let's go through them. So we said Black Bolt, and they actually said his real name. It's one of these things that when Inhumans came out, I listened to The Weekly Planet, and Nick Mason is amazing for his knowledge of crazy comic book stuff. He's just been reading it forever, so he knows every little detail. So they had a long running joke about he has the dumbest real name ever. Do you remember what his name is?
It's like, I forget the first part, but his last name's like Boltigan or something like that.
It's Blackagar Boltagon.
Blackagar Boltagon. Yeah.
And it's like, if you were a secret superhero and it's like, oh, here's our favorite hero, Black Bolt. And then it's like, oh, Blackagon Boltagar, or Blackagar Boltagon. You just missed Black Bolt. Oh, it's crazy that you're never in the same room together. I can't put this together. It's one thing when Clark Kent is not Superman. It's not like his name is like, I'm not going to even try. I can't even think of a good joke.
It's like Bruce Wayne being named like Bateman.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Just like, I am D. Bateman.
Yeah.
Dark Bat or whatever.
Yeah.
Something stupid, yeah.
Like Deadpool's name is, my name is Dean Pool. Coincidence, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got Blackagar Boltagon. We have...
It sounds like a Pokemon. Blackagar Boltagon, I choose you!
Blackagar!
But as a leader of a super...
race of Inhumans on the moon.
Yeah, it's like, he makes sense.
Yeah.
Reed Richards, the smartest man in all of...
we get...
the Marvel cinema... all of Marvel, really.
Yeah, I mean, he's like even so smart that... Like, he creates the Council of Reeds, and it's all the Reed Richards from around the multiverse, which is parodied in Rick and Morty with the Council of Ricks.
Yep.
So it's fun to see him. And I'm happy. I'm fine with John Krasinski. I don't know if he can play smart, because Reed Richards is really, really smart. John Krasinski can play charming and strong and scary, probably. I haven't watched his CIA one.
He's a good leading man. He can do action from the Michael Bay movie. He can do intensity from The Quiet Place. He can do comedy from The Office and all of his other movies. Smart, we've yet to see. I mean, I think he can do it. I don't think this was the movie that showed him.
No, he definitely wasn't smart in this movie.
No, they didn't give him anything.
Yeah,
smart other than like he has the ability to teleport, even though he can't hear what someone's saying. He knew the right timing to come. He's just the smartest man in the universe. Womp, womp, womp. I'm here now. Reed Richards.
Everybody just like comes in and they're like, we haven't introduced you yet. We're still going.
He's just
down
been doing
the
it for the past hour. He's like, all right, I'm gonna come back every 2 minutes until it happens.
So. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I was kind of hoping for maybe a little more inspired casting. We'll see if they bow to the fans and get his wife to play his wife.
Yeah, but I mean, they haven't announced him officially.
Sure. Yeah, because we're in a multiverse.
You know, we've seen multiverse where, in the multiverse, there's 3 different guys as Spider-Man. So there's no reason John Krasinski has to be.
Maybe that was his thing.
It was just like, I'll come in, I'll do this bit. And then depending on how well it's received, I'll either join or how much money you throw me, or...
If they make a Fantastic Four movie and it's not him, people are going to be so pissed. And no one will... All the diehard Krasinski fans are going to be like, I'm not going to accept that person. That's not my Reed Richards. You know, because, fans are the worst fucking people in the world.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between, like, not my Spider-Man or whatever and not my Reed Richards.
Where's my Young Griffin?
They should... I mean, I hope...
That would have been great if it was him instead.
It should have been Chris Evans as the Human Torch instead.
That would have been funny. That would have been...
that would have been the multiverse
It's one of those things that, like, everybody was saying, oh, yeah, of course, we're going to get Chris Evans as Human Torch in this, because why wouldn't we? Yeah. We're going to get Ang Lee's Hulk and
if they do the Council of Reed Richards, they should, like, any person that was ever sort of like, oh, we want this guy, it doesn't matter if they're like a nobody. They should just have like 50 guys all in a room together and just like, we're all Reed Richards.
Yeah, why not? Who cares?
It's like, this is the ultimate fan casting because we literally took everyone.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people wanting Chidi from The Good Place as Mr. Fantastic, and I can see that. He plays smart really well.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
So moving on. We have Professor X, as we said, get a little...
I did like that part.
God.
That was a nice little touch.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
And he's in his big, dumb, yellow wheelchair. Yeah. And apparently, I could be wrong, but this is the cartoon universe? Like, the animated series that has that theme song, this is that same Professor X.
I don't know about that. I mean, I feel like that's kind of pulling, maybe
because they're bringing that show back.
I know.
So
I'm not gonna speculate on that because there's not enough evidence to really do that. It's like
big yellow chair. That's all you got to. and it's like when they were going tumbling through the dimensions, when they went into the cartoon world, they turned into cartoons. So why wouldn't a cartoon, when they come into our world, turn human? So it could be.
Could be. Sure.
So, and happy to see him. Love Patrick Stewart as Professor X.
It's crazy. He still looks like that.
No, he looked old as fuck in this movie.
No, I mean, clearly he's old, but I don't think he looked bad. Like, he still looks like Professor X, even if they, like, de-aged him and put a bunch of makeup on him. Like, I don't think he looked
Go
bad.
back and watch X-Men 1. There's a huge difference. And I know that came out in 2000, so that's 22 years. So a difference between a 60-year-old and an 82-year-old, because I think he is 82, 83. Yeah. It is a big jump. But I think... can we let him rest? Can we let Patrick Stewart... Like, I see clips of him on, like, Picard, and it's like, he's not an action guy anymore. Just let him rest. But I guess if he wants to do it, he's allowed to do it. But come on, dude. You're looking old.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
But happy to see him.
I think he looked fine. Yeah, but I was happy to see him.
And another reason why it's the cartoon one, when he does his psychic stuff, you get the little whoa, 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 waves. We've never seen that in another X-Men movie. It's always just fingers to the forehead. And in the cartoon, it was always whoa, 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 whoa.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying...
This is not my theory. This is just stuff I read on the internet.
I just think people are pulling. I think Marvel just goes, well, we're just making a bunch of nonsense stuff that people like, and we'll do this. And it's like, that's all it seems like to me. It doesn't seem like, well, this is actually from the 1997 TV show. Just shut the fuck up and relax. Just enjoy the thing. I know I just said I didn't enjoy the thing, but enjoy the thing.
Then we get Captain Carter, which it's nice to see Haley Atwell actually physically playing it and not just in the What If episode. But this one felt a little odd because it's not like Captain America is known for being incredibly smart. They are just a good leader. And
I feel like she's there from a moral standpoint. Like, Captain America is always kind of like the moral compass of the group. It's like, because like I wouldn't say that she was the leader of the group. I'd say she'd probably be like dead last. But it's like, if you need someone who's like, all right, before we execute this guy, I'm going to be the one who kind of like plays devil's advocate. Yeah. Like, I feel like that would be her purpose.
Reed has no problem doing whatever because he's all about science. He doesn't care about the effects because it pushes science forward. But I think Professor X is more of a moral character than she is. Maybe not, because I guess in the comics Professor X has done some real shady, bad stuff. But it just seems like she's the least powered one. I think any one of the other people could take her out.
Sure.
And it just seems weird to have her there. But that's fine. Maybe if they were going to do Iron Man, Tom Cruise, you pull her out and put Iron Man there. And then we get Maria Rambeau as Captain Marvel. So
I don't think her name's Maria. Isn't it like Monica?
No, Monica Rambeau that's her daughter from WandaVision.
Is Maria? Maria
okay. Rambeau. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Maria Rambeau.
My mistake.
And so I guess she did the test pilot thing.
Yeah, which I liked.
Which is cool. And she's still wearing like the Kree colors. She never changed them. I'm pretty sure, I have no evidence to this was supposed to be Black Panther. But Chadwick Boseman died. And they had to take him off the council. So.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. So Doctor Strange is there to like answer for someone else's crimes, really. They're going to like kill this dude because Doctor Strange is just a real, like, in this universe he got the Darkhold and killed Thanos with it, but it took him too far, so they had to like obliterate him.
Yeah, he calls an incursion which killed 1 trillion people, an entire universe of people, which is like a cool idea, but we don't see it. Which might have been fun, but also super costly, but whatever. So he's answering for the crimes of all Doctor Strange's, and their plan is then to kill America and take her power so they could have it, correct? Or like just stop her.
Do they even say?
I don't know, or maybe they don't. I don't know. Whatever.
But Professor X is kind of the moral authority there and going like, hey, just because we stumble or just because,
it seems
it's a line from X-Men. I can't remember what it is, but
yeah, it seems like they they do show like a flashback sequence of the
them on Titan.
Them on Titan. Thanos is dead in the corner.
Yeah, with a big old sword in his chest or something.
Yeah. And you see Black Bolt have his one line of dialogue in the movie, which is like, I'm sorry, and just like disintegrates. That version of Doctor Strange was kind of fun. It's just like, oh, so there's this thing that we all agree is bad, and we like killed a person for it, and then immediately the professor's like, but you can go.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just one of those things that just kind of, it's fine, but it came really quick. Yeah. We talked about that council for a very long time.
Yeah, that's fine. I have one more thing about the council. If you want a better Bruce Campbell cameo, make him Mr. Fantastic. If he's gonna just get ripped apart and turned into spaghetti by Wanda, because then
I think people would have been pissed because most people don't know who Bruce Campbell is.
Sure, but I think regardless of who's in that role, like my mom watching this movie, she's not. It doesn't matter who you put in that role. She probably doesn't know who Mr. Fantastic is.
Sure.
So it doesn't really matter. And if this version is gonna die, you can cast whoever you want, because there's no way 70-year-old Bruce Campbell's coming back for a Fantastic Four trilogy in the cinematic universe. So I think he would have been good in that stand-in role just for this. And especially if you had Tom Cruise's Iron Man and show, like, look, these are different really, truly different versions of other ones that we can see. Why not put Bruce Campbell there?
See, now, I mean, I get what you're saying. I just don't think it would have worked. I think he would have played a better alternate version of Doctor Strange. Like, every time we saw Doctor Strange, it was Benedict Cumberbatch. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it would have been fun to see him with, like, the big, like...
The super big collar.
The super big collar and the yellow gloves. Like, I think he could have pulled off a Doctor Strange look. I think Bruce Campbell would have looked good with the white on the side. And like, you could have even made him, like, do a reference to Evil Dead. It's like, oh, you know, I had to go to this one universe and banish these deadites from coming out the ground, or whatever. Or like,
I destroyed the Darkhold, the Necronomicon, the...
that would have been good. Yeah, that, because that world fits with Doctor Strange. That's why, you know, Raimi fits with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
That, or you just use him as a comedy bit, and he would have been like some dude in the third cell next to them, and it's like, oh yeah, I've been here for like a month, and it's like, yeah,
they don't know what to do with me.
And then, he's just like some joke, the throwaway joke. Like, I think he would have been better utilized there, or like, he's a janitor in this place for some reason. Like, more than, I'm gonna punch my face and like do slapstick comedy.
But he's doing that classic character of Pizza Poppa.
Pizza Poppa is gonna have so many like memes, I bet.
I'll wear a Pizza Poppa shirt. I want to try those pizza balls.
I mean, they did look good.
What is it?
Look, I'm not against the man's business acumen and like his, you know, want to supply the world with delicious pizza bites. My problem is, like, you know, what Doctor Strange did to him and what we call comedy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, so
Wanda shows up
and just wrecks
Rex house at this point. So
she is doing something called dreamwalking.
Yeah.
And she can hop into other versions of herself and do whatever. Now, she could go into this other Wanda, but would she still have all the same powers? Because did this Wanda still go through all the Westview stuff? I mean, she has the kids, but if there's no Iron Man here, the Ultron bots are made by someone else, so that means there's no Vision. So...
Once again, you're thinking... Well, that aside, I think their argument would be, well, that Wanda might not have the powers, but by her transferring her conscious, she can instantly unleash. Okay. Like, she has the access to, because she's also heightened by the Darkhold.
Yeah.
So that doesn't bother me. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So she comes in and just starts killing people, and
she kills all the Ultron bots because I guess no one else works there except for these 5 people and the Ultron bots. And why do you need such a big building? You could have just had like. You could have rented a room at the Radisson Inn, you know?
Yeah, maybe they got a good deal on it years ago.
Yeah.
And then he does, like, Mr. Fantastic shows how unsmart he is by going, hey, bad guy, let me tell you exactly how to stop our most powerful guy. And so, you know, he says, like, oh, with one word out of his mouth, he could blow you away. And she just says, what mouth? And then all of a sudden, Anson Mouth's is gone, and he tries to scream, and he just collapses his head in.
Which is a cool way to kill him.
Really cool,
I like
and
that.
Like disgusting for a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
This one is, even though there's not a lot of blood, there's a lot of body horror and, you know, chopped
octopus limbs and
Sure.
weird monsters trying to. And there's like a fucking zombie later on. There's a lot of gross stuff for what this is.
I mean, I think Wanda looks very cool, like very going full blown, kind of like Carrie, and kind of covered in blood. She looks very menacing,
but she's just wearing like mom house clothes. Yeah. It's kind of funny.
But yeah, kills him and then immediately like just I guess de-atomizes.
She like turns him into spaghetti.
Yeah.
He just like turns into yarn.
Mr. Fantastic and the spaghetti. So it's like, well, Krasinski's done for the day.
Yep. And then like super soldier and like woman with the power of the cosmos, it's like very opposite sides. Like I'm really good with a shield and I'm athletic, and then I have the power of the solar system at my fingertips. Makes sense that one would last longer, but
it's interesting that like the smartest guy and the most powerful guy instantly killed.
Yeah.
Which like if you're gonna fight somebody, like that should be the plan.
What you do.
But Wanda never met either of those guys before.
It doesn't matter who's the strongest.
Yeah.
She's the strongest.
Yeah, she's the strongest. So it was kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, I didn't need to see if you want to save Mr. Fantastic, like, because his power is
stretchy.
Yeah, I mean, how much work could
what is he gonna do?
Save it for the movies, and also like. I'm glad you only see him do it like once.
Yeah, he like dips in
because it would have been like if you really look at it, I don't know if it would look much better than the dance sequence from Silver Surfer. If any of you guys have seen that movie, know what I'm talking about. But anyway, we won't get into that.
So
we have a nice little fight.
Yeah, good fight. And Captain Carter gets cut in half,
which was cool.
So cool.
And I like that they, did a little reference where she's like,
"I can do this all day."
Like, that was fun.
I knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming too.
Can't do Captain America without it.
Yeah, but I like that she was cut in half by her own shield. Pretty cool.
And then a statue dropped on Monica Rambeau.
Yep. And then we have Wanda.
Doing mind
battle with Professor X. Doctor, professor, they all got their PhDs.
Yeah.
And
he's like trying to save the one that was trapped under the
inside
rubble.
Their mind, which was fun.
Yeah.
Then she shows up and just breaks his neck in the dream. And if you die in the dream, you die in real life.
Sure.
And,
yeah.
Sure.
It's Freddy Krueger Inception rules.
Yeah. So that was fine.
Poor Professor X. Like, this dude cannot catch a break. He dies all the time. He's been vaporized by the Phoenix. He was stabbed in the chest by a Wolverine clone. He almost gets obliterated by the Sentinels in Days of Future Past. And then he gets his neck broken. Like, the most killed character played by the same actor. How many people can say that?
I mean, I guess you could argue that Logan has died a bunch of times. It just he always came back because of his healing factor.
He never really officially died. No.
I know that. I'm
yeah, I can't think of anybody else who's died so many times. But poor guy.
Anyway,
so then how do they get out of there?
Well, Doctor Strange and Mordo have a little fist fight because they have these handcuffs that like block their magic. And
so it's nice to get a little hand-to-hand stuff.
Honestly, that was probably the best fight in the movie.
Oh.
Except for like the end, maybe.
Okay.
Because I was just like, after so many just like energy blasts and stuff, I was like, oh, it's kind of nice just to like. It's weird because like I've seen so many hand-to-hand fights, so you would think that the more exciting fights would be like the magic people.
Yeah.
But honestly, I was just like, oh, it's nice that there's a change of pace in this movie.
Yeah, and I like fights where people are connected to each other. You really have to get inventive.
Yeah. So anyway. Doctor Strange runs into Christine in America.
Yeah. This is how they get out. Yeah, the stupid tunnel.
Christine's like Doctor Strange finds out that there's a waypoint that takes you directly to the Book of Vishanti. And
America punches herself out of the prisoner or the cell. She's believing in herself. So
then we have the sequence where we talked about earlier, where all three of them are running through this tunnel, and Scarlet Witch is chasing them down. It's kind of like this scary creature kind of running after them, and they keep trying to like throw stuff in her way, and she keeps like blasting through it and everything. And then we have the sequence where it's just like this really random jump scare, and he floods the tunnel with water, and it's like that'll only slow her down, which is like we just saw this chick like I said earlier, like move giant pieces of rock, but it's water that slows her down because Wizard of Oz physics, I guess, maybe. I don't know. It's like water stops a witch.
Okay,
who cares?
Sure, why not?
So they walk through this magical doorway that connects through Strange's watch, whatever.
I hated that. Oh, it's your cracked watch that opens up this doorway. It was stupid.
Well, I mean, that's fine, whatever. And then they get to the book, and just as they're as they reach for it, Wanda shows up because they didn't like close the door behind them that only Doctor Strange could open. And she destroys the book instantly, so they never, like, we spent an hour and a half getting to this point, and they didn't even use the book.
Yeah.
America goes back through, America opens up a portal, Doctor Strange and Christine go through it, and then...
Do they destroy the book then?
What's that?
Right there? Do they destroy the book
right
there? Who actually destroys it?
Wanda does.
She does.
Yeah. So they can't use it against her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. She doesn't want the book. She doesn't care about the book.
Yeah.
She wants the kid. Okay.
And I forget where...
Where do they go?
Yeah. Well, whatever. We'll go back a little bit because we haven't talked about Wong in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And his whole side story with other version of Wanda.
Yeah.
So the main Wanda is using the Darkhold. She has Wong captured. The chick we talked about earlier destroys the Darkhold, and so Wanda threatens
There's
to
a backup.
There's a backup. Of course there is. Wanda threatens to kill the 4 people who are alive at Carmitage in front of Wong if he doesn't like help her. And he's like, okay, there is this ancient building that the Darkhold was written in that was the source of its power. I'll take you there. And they go there, and you find out it's this ancient throne built for her.
Yeah.
To one day use to
do something,
become the Scarlet Witch, or destroy the multiverse, or use dark magic, or whatever.
Is it a prophecy for something? Yeah,
I was unclear what that was. Yeah. And you have this nice little jump scare where there's like monsters there, but those monsters were stupid because they're these big like Hulk-like things, and then when they show up later, they instantly get killed.
Yeah,
it's like, why were they there anyway?
That was one of the things. Like, I like that first monster. I'll call the ribbon monster. I like the octopus one, and then you get these 4 just hulking guys that look like they're from
Ghostbusters,
or like a Thor movie, you know, or something
like this is something Thor would have uppercutted with his hammer.
Yes, and just like... or one of Thanos's, you know, the big dude. It's just so uninventive.
Yeah,
it is really boring, and then they don't do anything. So I kind of wish there was a third monster that maybe even if we're like rewriting this, when Wanda is invited to Carmitage and everything, and she's trying to like play it cool. Oh no, there's a big monster attack that's attacking the thing. I'll save it. And maybe that's how she's trying to get away. I just wish we had another monster fight in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wong kills one. Yeah. Doctor Strange kills the others.
I feel like a lot of the good idea, and once again, I actively did not like the What If show, but one of the Doctor Strange episode, like you have him like where you see all these different monsters come out and he's like killing them and absorbing their power. Like, give me some of those monsters.
Yeah, those are cool. So yeah, they go to the one universe where there was a fuck up, and the Doctor Strange was that a Nexus Point thing as well? Like, why was his world all messed up?
That was the world that I think was part of the incursion, or incursion. It was just a world where Doctor Strange failed, and the entire world is slowly disappearing into nothingness.
What did he fail at?
I don't remember. Yeah. They're in a movie where you're constantly jumping back and meeting like 4 different versions of the same guy. It's easy to lose track of information. So I apologize if we're not like, we watched a day, we didn't have time, or I watched a day. It's like I don't have everything memorized. Yeah. And I'm sure there's like hardcore nerds who are just like, well, actually, well, you know what? If you want that, go somewhere else. Yeah. But stay here and listen.
Or tweet at us and let us know how wrong we are.
Yeah. But for whatever reason, this version of Doctor Strange's world is crumbling and seems to be on the brink of totally disappearing. And I liked the look of this world. I didn't have any problem with the visual effects. I like that you see like the New York Bridge, whatever that bridge is, like tilting to the side, and things like disappearing, almost like Thanos just like snapped the entire world.
But it's in slow-mo.
But it's in slow-mo.
Well, what was that like red light? Do you remember there was like a red light that zipped through?
I didn't quite understand what that was.
They never said what that was, did they?
And then
It's like, oh, is the Flash here?
Christy and him get to the sanctum, and this is one of my favorite shots in the movie when he like walks in the staircase and it just like goes up into this like cloudy thing. It's just like this back half visually is way more appealing than the first half. It's like this should have been the kind of stuff that you see throughout the entire movie, is like this dark kind of horror-y gothic look. And so anyway, Doctor Strange talks to this other Doctor Strange.
Which I thought this Doctor Strange was going to be that evil one from What If, but then I kind of forgot he's dead. He unmade that universe because he tried to, reunite with Christine.
Yeah,
and so it blanked and it killed everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it could be.
I guess because like the what was his name? The Traveler or something, or the
Watcher.
The Watcher, yeah. He comes back and it's like, I need your help on a thing. For the doesn't he get that strange from the
Doctor Strange? I don't think Doctor Strange is in the finale.
Maybe
because I think.
But I remember the Watcher go like after he like seals himself in that crystal. The Watcher shows up, is like, hey, I need your help. Who fucking cares?
I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
Whatever.
Anyway, so this is a sequence so Doctor Strange, the evil one, has a third eye, and he's like, I use the Darkhold in this world. It calls the whatever, and our Doctor Strange 616 is like, well, I need your Darkhold to save my world, even though you couldn't save yours. It's like, this is why you should give it to me. And he, I guess, is just like, oh, well, I'll give it to you if you give me your Christine. And he's like, she's not going to go for that. And it's like, well, fine, then I'll take her. And then they have this fight. And this is one of my favorite sequences in the movie.
Yes.
I love this scene.
Yeah,
like
very creative.
Very creative. And this is like what I want to see when Doctor Strange does stuff. It's like, you have this magic guy who can do anything, and there's no like rules. Like, there's no spell book. It's like, oh, he knows fireball and a sleep spell. It's not like Dungeons and Dragons where there's like a set list. Like, he's literally done anything.
He throws like fire dragons out at one point.
Yeah, and he's turned things into butterflies and whatever. So the fact they have a music battle, and it's so cool. I mean, they're like so he gets thrown into a piano, which a bunch of sheets of music flying up in the air, to which Doctor Strange then like summons the music notes off the paper and kind of uses them as like ninja stars to shoot at the other Doctor Strange. And as he's shooting them, like the music notes are playing, which is really cool. And then they're just using different instruments in the room to summon music to fight each other.
Yeah.
And Danny Elfman did a fantastic job of this. Like, I love this bit. Like, this is my favorite scene in the whole movie. Zero complaints. This is the Doctor Strange stuff they should do every movie.
Yeah, it's very creative, and it reminded me of Kung Fu Hustle, when the assassin is playing the things and it's throwing out music blades. So, very cool. Yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
And then he kills him or something.
Yeah, so our Doctor Strange is about to be killed, I think, and then there's a harp to which he like plays the harp, a single note like cuts the Darkhold off, and then he shoots the Doctor Strange through the big window on the front of the sanctum. He falls and lands on a spiked fence outside, killing that Doctor Strange, or at least you think he's dead because the third eye opens, just as like a jump scare, but he never shows up again. So I'm assuming he's dead. So Christine comes in and she's like, you're just like all the other Doctor Stranges. You're going to use the Darkhold and it's going to corrupt you and you're going to like destroy everything. He's like, yep. And but he's like, if any of these monsters come after me, the souls of the damned come after me. I need you to protect me so I can save America and all that stuff.
Yeah, he can't physically get there because America is in our world or his world. So he has to possess his corpse. That first Doctor Strange that died.
From the very beginning of the movie that died, yeah.
They buried him in just some like planter on a rooftop. And so he has to possess that zombie, or possess the corpse, become a zombie to fight, which I love this look. All these like crazy skeleton souls becoming his cape is just so visually cool.
Yeah. So
it was very Dracula Untold.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is peak Raimi. Like, this is the kind of stuff, like, you hire Raimi for. Like, just from when his arm reaches out, it just seemed like, it almost looked like, it was very much horror shots from, like, the 80s or whatever, like, classic sort of, or 50s or 70s, whatever.
80s is right.
Yeah. And so that was nice that Raimi got to like play around and finally do like the horror stuff that we've been waiting for and that he's known for. So yeah, Zombie Strange looks cool, and then you have these demons who are trying to kill our Doctor Strange in the other where he's using the Darkhold, and Christine fights them off. But then they're also in the world where he's the corpse, and they're just like you're basically doing illegal magic, and if you don't stop, we're gonna take your soul to I guess the underworld or whatever. Which is like this is what the whole movie should have been, is just like Doctor Strange using necromancy when it's a forbidden art against the woman who has this other version of necromancy. It should have been like someone who doesn't want to use necromancy but uses it to accomplish a goal, and then the woman who like wants to use it to do an evil. Like it should have just been a battling of like ideals and like when's it okay to use this forbidden art. It's like does the ends justify the means, that kind of thing.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Like, it's like, well,
you don't get to use it, but I know better, so I'll use it.
And that's like an interesting dynamic. It's just like, well, what's the difference between you and I? You and I using it, you're being a hypocrite. And she even calls him a hypocrite. It's like, how dare you dreamwalk when you said I shouldn't dreamwalk? And it's like, but I'm doing it to save people. You're doing it for selfish needs and that kind of stuff.
Line like, when you break the rules, you're a hero, but when I do it, I'm the villain.
But it's just kind of glossed over. But it's like that's a concept for the movie there too.
That's like should be the main thrust.
So he's able to like bend the demons to his will and have his own demon Doctor Strange cape. Super cool. Like I can't wait for the toys or like the little sculptures that come out or the busts or whatever.
Sideshow collectibles.
That just like will rest like a. I can see you buying one of those if they're not like 150.
If I like Doctor Strange more as a character, but like I don't have a lot of that stuff anyway, so for me to just have this one, it'd be kind of weird.
mean, I just know you're a big horror fan. I just thought if it looked cool, you could get into it. Anyway.
If they do a line of, Marvel Zombies or something, that would be fun to have.
So then him and Wanda battle. America Chavez is on this pillar because she's going to be sacrificed in the ritual that'll give her Wanda the powers. Wong is alive and helps out, I guess.
Sure.
And Doctor Strange stops Wanda by making her feel bad.
Yeah.
And America is able to use her powers because Doctor Strange is like, believe in yourself, and she's like, okay, I will.
Yeah.
And this is where I was like, this whole ending, I just kind of rolled my eyes. It's just like, through the power of
believing in yourself,
Confidence. That's what it is. America believes in herself. She opens up a portal and sends our evil Wanda to the universe where she dreamwalked in, where that Wanda was, and her children see her as the villain that she finally is, and they're like, you're scary. You're not our mom. And she's like, don't hurt us. And so like, because she felt so bad scaring her children, realized how awful she was, that she was like, okay, you're right. I'm going to destroy all the Darkholds in all the universes and crumble this thing, even though like clearly I'm still alive. She's just in some sort of witch shield, probably something or whatever.
She went into witch hibernation.
Yeah. So it was kind of like a weak ending. I mean, cool visually, seeing Zombie Strange with and like him coming out and all the like hands kind of coming around him, like really awesome stuff.
But the like, whenever Disney did this a lot back in the day, whenever you had the villain die by just falling off something very high and falling into mist, and you just assume they die. Just having a building collapse on someone, it's just fucking Daredevil survived a building collapsing on himself.
Spider-Man did it.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you mean the person that has the power to do whatever is gonna die by a building? No, she just went into witch hibernation.
Yeah, because I mean, you even see like as the building collapsed, there's like this red blast that kind of goes out, and just like, I think that was them going like, she's still good.
Yeah, it's vague enough that they can bring her back for anything.
And I mean, she's so good in the role, and I wouldn't want to see her gone. Like she would. This feels like a movie where she should die in.
Yes, but she's such a beloved character. They don't.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna kill her off, you're gonna kill her off like where people actually see her die, not just crushed.
Why not just like? I mean, the whole thing with America Chavez is she could open up any dimensions. Why not put her in that paint dimension? And like maybe it's a dimension where there is no magic and she's just kind of stuck there. You send her to the one with the dinosaurs and she just has to live with dinosaurs. You know, why make a building fall on her? Send her to a place where she's, you know, she can't affect the world. And then when you need her, you can pull her out whenever. Because this is going to be like, you know, witch coma, and we removed all the debris, and she's just been sleeping in her little bubble, and it's going to be so boring. Whereas you've already established, like, this is, you could have like a Phantom Zone type thing where she just starts putting all the bad guys. I don't know. It just seems like a pretty weak way to end
there's
it.
something with the dark dimension later. I can't remember. Like, does Doctor Strange have? Oh no, he does have magic in the dark dimension. Because when he's like kind of fighting Dormammu, but he's not really fighting Dormammu.
Was that the dark dimension? I thought that was just the mirror dimension.
No, the mirror dimension is where like all the stuff is like warping. The dark dimension is where he's like on the planet, like there's all those weird planets flying. Like that's the dark dimension.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter. Anyway.
Oh, I mean, he has to have magic because like he does that looping time.
Well, that's
spell.
the time stone thing that does that. Not.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But I mean, if Dormammu is a magic being, then I think he does have magic because I think he uses his shield to block some of the. And stuff.
And he flies.
Anyway, I just was saying, like, I thought you would think that there would be a dimension where, like, you send magic users because they you have handcuffs that take away their magic abilities. There's not a dimension that does that.
Yeah, and then she has
whatever.
And it happens to be a dimension where her kids don't exist, and you know maybe it's a barren wasteland, and it's just like, oh well, this is just your prison now.
Yeah.
Now, throw a mountain on her.
Yeah, throw a mountain on her, and then but like she dies, and then you find out that did she dreamwalk to all the other universes where she destroyed? Like, how did all the Darkholds get destroyed? Because they say it, and I don't remember like how they know that.
And that's a thing that actually happened.
Yeah,
every Darkhold got destroyed.
They specifically said before she not before she died, but it's like Wanda destroyed all the Darkholds, or maybe she's like, I'm gonna destroy all the Darkholds because I think her Darkhold. Oh my god, this movie. Anyway, yes, all the Darkholds in every dimension has been in every universe has been destroyed.
Okay, but at least at the end of this, there's no more Darkholds. There's no more Vishanti because that was just the one book that existed. So
did they say it was the one book?
No, I think
that's
it was
the one in there.
No, because it was made and put in this universe that couldn't be gotten to. So because
it was just they were like, oh, that's just a legend. It's not a real thing. I think
it's just the one. So it's nice that that's all destroyed and we can't ever go back to it. So I like that.
Because it was funny when they just said, oh, it gives the sorcerer the ability to do whatever you need it to do. It's like, what a power! It's like it's like having a.
It's like having a genie.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a wish machine.
Yeah,
but I'm glad that it was just like, nope, it's destroyed. It's like, but it's like at that point, it's like maybe I kind of wanted to see it work at least once.
Yeah,
but would it have been cool visually? Or?
MacGuffin.
Yeah,
it really is. Just like, oh, it's not the it's not a specific power like you have the power of the living tribunal or whatever. It's just like, nah, it just gives you whatever you need to do the thing. And if the thing is, I need to cross this bridge, it lets you have the power of bridge. So it's so vague and it's like, oh, it's bridge a thing. Power. We got to get it because it's the only thing that can save us. And no, we're not going to even use it. It's not even important. And if it's going to be just a MacGuffin-y sort of thing, let's find a better way to like set them on their path for whatever reason. It's kind of lazy to go like, here's the thing that answer all of our problems, and then we're not going to even use it.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like, because sometimes I think that works because it's just like, oh, well, when there's this thing that just solves all your problems, well then, you know, there's no real stakes. Mm-hmm. But then you also like to get rid of it right away is also kind of good. And I was like, oh, so I think that's something that does it really well is like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Mm-hmm. So they get to the Holy Grail. It does work. They do use its power, but they immediately like get rid of it. It's not like a cure-all. It doesn't solve the world's problems. It's just like, oh, and we didn't use enough of it. It just healed my dad enough to keep him alive. It doesn't give him youth or whatever. It's like, so they used it just enough to where it's like, oh, we didn't keep it, and like there's not some grand. The Nazis were going to use it to keep Hitler alive or like the whatever. It's just like, oh, there's this magical artifact and we got rid of it really quick, but they did at least get to use it.
Yeah. And then we kind of wrap up, right? That we're back at Kamatage, and hey, there's a whole bunch of new students. Did they come back from the dead? Are they new recruits and they just swept all the ash of all their previous students? Who cares? We're rebuilding, just like at the end of so many X-Men movies. We're just using our powers, rebuilding our
Yeah,
our
I mean, they had
stronghold.
all those wizards that showed up at the Battle of Endgame. I don't know how many died in that battle. It's like, so
true. Oh, yeah,
maybe not
because
all of them. Because that's right. There was like the Asian...
and then the British one.
And the British one,
Yeah.
who... Like, there's sorcerers in multiple
they
countries.
showed up at the beginning, right? Or did they show up at the end? I can't remember.
They definitely showed up at the end.
But were they there at the beginning of,
wait, no,
we're
did they
here? We're here to protect?
Jesus Christ. I can't
Because
remember.
it's like...
And you know what? I think they did. Yes.
Okay.
They were there at the beginning.
Okay. And they just...
So, I guess other wizards from other countries showed up to help them rebuild Carmitage, and which is cool, I guess.
Yeah,
and then we see that America is training to become a sorcerer, which, makes sense.
but she's trying too hard. And I hate that because it's like she's not focusing enough to be able to handle magic. But it's like, it seemed like she never even tried to harness her own powers. Why are you trying to teach her magic as well? It's like, she can't even handle this one thing. What makes you think she's going to handle this other thing? And she is inherently good at magic because, like in Spider-Man, they were saying Ned can do it because it's kind of in his family.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like... But I guess Doctor Strange learned it, not having magic in his blood or whatever. It's not like they sought him out.
Yeah.
It just seems weird. It's like... Does she really need to learn magic?
It's magic, man. There's no rule. We've established that this movie doesn't have any
there's
real
no rules. You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
And so then the movie just kind of... Not just ends, but so... Yeah, what's like the very...
It's like, it's done. He walks out of his apartment wearing like something fancy, and then his third eye opens up and he screams, and it's done.
Oh, yeah.
Which...
It's like, it's a very Raimi thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's like...
So, okay, so he used the dark hold.
The dark hold takes it. They said the dark hold takes a toll.
Yeah.
And I guess the toll is now giving him this third eye, which...
But that's always been a good thing. When you open your third eye, you can see more than what your normal eyes do. But it's a bad thing, though?
I guess it could be. It could be its own sort of like entity. It's like, yeah, it may have enhanced your powers, but it's also like draining you of humanity. We'll find out later, probably.
Maybe it's something he like kind of like Constantine, how he was always able to see the demons on our Earth. Maybe that's a thing. Like, I know magic and I can see things, but now I'm seeing the flip side, the dark magic at all times, and I never knew it was there. So it'll be interesting.
I mean, we're getting into weird outside stuff, but there's one of the few animes I do love is an anime called Yu Yu Hakusho, where there's a character who had a third eye implanted into his he was a demon, and he had a third eye implanted into his forehead, and he did it because he's like, it's going to give me like more power and like enhance my abilities, but I think it did make his demon form like kind of come out more and like made him more inherently evil. So that's kind of like a common thing. I think it's like third eyes, yes, it's like, oh, I see more than anyone else, but it's also just like but
what I see is not good.
I don't know. So you can go either way with it.
So then we get our mid-credit scene. Charlize Theron's in the MCU now.
Yep. And we find out from the credits her name's Clea.
She's Dormammu's daughter or niece.
Yeah, and I didn't know who this character was. I did a quick Google search, and I think she's a love interest for Strange.
Yeah, and she becomes Sorcerer Supreme. I guess she's Sorcerer Supreme of the Dark Dimension. Yeah. And then she also became the Sorcerer Supreme after Doctor Strange died. I think he's dead in the comics right now.
Okay.
But yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was a nothing scene. It was just like, oh, here's another character that we introduced, which is like, I like Charlize Theron, but
it felt like Eternals in two ways. One, she kind of looked like she was in an Eternals suit. And then also it felt like their post-credit scene where it's like, oh, here's Thanos' brother. And it's like, what's his face? Harry Styles walks out, and it's like, am I supposed to know who this is? Who gives a fuck about this guy? And it just seemed the same thing. It's now, like, here's more to come.
With the exception of Fantastic Four and X-Men, like, we've really kind of gotten all the big characters. So now we're just kind of, with the exception of Namor, which is rumored to be in Black Panther too. So
which, we haven't seen any casting for that, and that's supposed to be out this year. There's no way Black Panther for Wakanda Forever is coming out this year. It's gonna get pushed. It's gotta.
We'll see.
We haven't seen shit from that movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting time when that comes out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it okay. So she's in it now, and I guess they'll team up in future stuff. And
she's gonna be bad because she's Dormammu's daughter, and gonna trick him to do a thing. And you're actually releasing Dormammu. But then she realizes her dad's not quite the good guy, and she changes her ways, and she helps, and then now she's one of the good guys. Yep.
Or something.
Or something. It's gonna be something like that.
Yeah. So I mean,
and then we get your beloved final post credit scene of
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell just finally not
able
punching himself anymore and says it's finally over, which I kind of love because it was like the Captain America one at the end of Spider-Man. It's just like, patience. It's a little joke about sitting through the credits, and this it's like, it's done. You can leave now.
And I'm fine. Like, not every post-credit scene needs to be some hint of the future thing to come, or like, look at the new character or whatever. Like, I'm fine with it ending on a joke. I just didn't like that joke.
Yeah, I get it.
So,
I only have two other things I want to talk about real quick.
Okay.
They're not important. One of the things I hated the most was Wanda's kids' ice cream song.
Oh, that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I forgot about that part, yeah.
Real bad. Real bad. Yeah, cut that shit.
No disrespect to those two young actors, but like every time they were in a scene, I just found them like real annoying. It's like, why do you want to go back to these kids? It's like, I don't have a problem with kids, but it's just like, Mom, come here. You're really going to like this, Mom. And it's just like, I feel like there could have been a better, cuter moment for Wanda to like cry to. And it's like, man, I really love these children. But that ice cream song was bad.
Yeah.
I did not like that scene. I mean, I liked the scene around it, I think, where she first starts to dreamwalk, and you kind of like, you do the classic horror thing where she like looks up and she like looks in the window and she sees the Scarlet Witch there, and there's some good Sam Raimi horror stuff there.
Yeah.
But immediately followed with "Here, Mama" ice cream song. It's just disgusting.
That's a good word for it, yeah.
Disgusting.
One thing I'm surprised didn't happen, and I'm thankful it didn't, is since this movie it's very important that you know what happens in WandaVision. Vision doesn't show up at the end to save the day, convince her, because White Vision exists in this world.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything about him. He just kind of flew off, and that was it. I really thought we were going to pull in Vision either from another world or this white one that's just been maybe kind of watching her from afar and give some speech about the ship of Theseus again, and then like convince her what she is doing is wrong. I'm glad we didn't get it, but I'm surprised there wasn't any sort of Vision talks at all. Like in the worlds where her kids exist, it would have been kind of interesting if human Paul Bettany was there. You know? And I don't know. I'm glad it didn't. We don't need it, but I was very surprised. Or at least he seems like maybe he would be the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's just funny that in the past 6 months, 3 huge movies all just had to do with multiverse. I mean, 2 of them were Marvel.
Yeah.
You got I think the multiverse works so well in Spider-Man No Way Home simply because we've already seen the 2 other universes that it pulled from. Like, and it made sense. So you didn't have to do like a ton of crazy stuff with the multiverse, because really it's just like the 2 doors open, 2 guys walk through. Like, you're not jumping into other stuff. You just like, okay, now it exists.
Yeah.
But then you go full from like, here's a little hint of it, to just full-blown ridiculousness of this. And then I would say that like Everything Everywhere All at Once was even more ridiculous in certain ways. But the way they handled their multiverse was, I think, fun and inventive and that was and new and
more hand wavy than this. It's like, we got a thing and you could do a thing, whatever.
Yeah, but I feel like even though nothing in that was really explained all that well, it made more sense. Yeah, it was like,
you could follow it.
It did the less is more. It's like, we're not going to tell you anything, so it just works. Where this is like, well, we have to explain why this works, and it's like, and a lot of times I want explanation, because sometimes less is less. But this movie, it just seemed like there was just so much, but they also didn't have time to explain everything, or like didn't care to be like, whatever, it's the multiverse, it's comic books, like it hasn't made sense for the past 100 years of comic books, so who really cares all that much? But as a film, I just don't think it this is near the bottom of Marvel movies for me, I think.
Yeah. But it's like I still had fun watching it. I wasn't bored. It didn't piss me off. It was just, it's more of a after the fact movie. When you really think on it, you start seeing all the flaws. But I would definitely watch this one again. I'd probably even go back to the theater and pay for this one again because I enjoyed watching it. I had fun, but as a movie, it's probably lower on my ranking as well.
I mean, as I said it before, like as much as a fan of direct, and like I want to see directors do like direct. This Doctor Strange is the character to do those kind of things, and I feel like. And I think that this production, like Scott Derrickson was supposed to direct it for a bunch of years, and like he had his own vision, and then he left because
they went no, we want to do this multiverse thing, and he's like, well, that's not the story I wanted to do. So
yeah, and so then we got this version, and they kind of hired Sam Raimi last minute to do, and so like when Raimi got to do Raimi, it was cool. Yeah. And Raimi had to like fill in and try and work WandaVision in. I think I read somewhere that he hadn't even seen every episode of WandaVision when he made this movie and still hasn't. And, I don't know. I think I just wish either that I want to know what Scott Derrickson's version was going to be. Yeah. And I wish that Sam Raimi had more time to do at least work with, because I feel like maybe he didn't get a pass on the script and maybe he should have.
Yeah. He definitely didn't. I bet he read through it and went like, oh, I could see the fun visual things I can do with this.
Yeah.
I haven't done a comic book movie in forever. I haven't done a movie in like 9 years or 13 years.
Was the last one Drag Me to Hell?
No, it was Oz the Great and Powerful.
Oh, that's right. Right.
Which is very not a Sam Raimi movie. I don't know why he wanted to do that. That one's not very good. I think I was saying something, but I don't care. Talking about multiverse. Okay, so you take a movie like Groundhog Day, and you have this concept of repeating the same time. Mm-hmm. Cool. But then other movies start doing it, and, you could be like, oh, it's just Groundhog Day. They're just stealing that idea and putting a sci-fi twist or a horror twist, whatever it is. Yeah. But it's kind of become its own little genre of itself. I mean, like Russian Doll has done it. I haven't seen it, but that's what I know. I think multiverse movies can start becoming its own genre. There's so much you can do with alternate selves that it doesn't have to be superheroes. It doesn't have to be action. It can be love story. Like, we've talked about Time, also with Rachel McAdams. Yeah. That's almost kind of
the time traveler's wife. She just loves traveling.
There's another time travel thing she's done as well. I think she has like 3 main time travel movies. But this really could be its own genre of, like, you tell a love story like about Time, and even though he doesn't meet alternate versions of himself, he sees alternate versions of what his life could be. So yeah, I want to see more of this, and do a detective story, do a western, do war, and just give us multiverse versions.
Oh yeah, like if you get like a film noir but with multiverse happening, where you're just like, they gotta solve the crime of. I mean, I guess that's kind of what the TVA did. It's just like they were. Sure. It was a detective story, but it wasn't really like a detective story. It's just like
for a little bit to figure out where
there is a kind of serial killer going through the universe. But but yeah, if you could do something like if Fincher did a multiverse thriller detective story, that'd be cool as shit.
Damn, I never thought of like Fincher in the MCU. So yeah, anything else with Multiverse of Madness?
No, I think we talked about it for a long time because I had a lot of thoughts on this movie, so I apologize to the listener. No, it's like we kind of had to break down everything to try and like piece together this movie.
I haven't been able to talk to anybody about this, so allowing me to just vomit out every sort of idea I may have for this.
So what's up next for the MCU?
It's Thor: Love and Thunder.
Thor: Love and Thunder, okay.
Which I think will be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my main problems with Ragnarok was it's a funny movie that wasn't funny. I know a lot of people like the jokes. I don't find a lot of them funny. It seemed almost like Ghostbusters Answer the Call. Like Chris Hemsworth is pretty funny in that, but it seemed like a lot of improv that was funny on the day. You put it in the movie, maybe it doesn't work. And I love Taika Waititi, but he allows his people to improv stuff, and sometimes those directors have a hard time cutting it because it was just so damn funny. We got to put it in. And I fear having the Guardians, very funny characters, and Thor, who has become a funny character, and they've worked really well being funny together. It's going to be a laugh a minute, but it's maybe only going to hit every 10 minutes. So we're going to get like bad joke, bad joke, bad joke. Okay, that one works. And I really hope the story is interesting and it's not just another crazy fun adventure of Thor.
Yeah, I mean, just from the clues of the trailer, it seems like, Thor this is kind of his send-off movie. It feels like, at least that's kind of what the trailer's marketing as. And I don't know if I don't think it's necessarily the end of Chris Hemsworth, but
I'm telling you, I think they're killing him. I think they're killing Thor.
I hope they do, honestly, or at least, Tony died, but it made sense that he was the one who died because he was the one who started it all. Yep. And they're like, we're not going to bring him back. And he is an older gentleman, and he had a great death. Yeah. And then you gave Captain America the happy ending. So what's Thor's happy ending?
Especially since they're the type of people, they live for thousands of years. Yeah. We're not going to see him grow to an old age. So when you put him in a movie and you're giving us a new Thor and your villain is the God Butcher, come on, this is the time.
Yeah, I feel like there's no way to... I just don't know what his happy ending is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, him dying and then Jane Foster becoming new Thor is, fun for me. I
never thought she would come back.
That's the only thing that has me a bit, not worried, but it's like, is she excited to be part of it?
Or is this a payday?
Or is it a payday? Because it seems like most of the people who are in these movies are excited to be part of it, but now that we're getting into throwing a bunch of these new big name actors, are they in it because it's the big thing? Are they in it because they really love the kid? Like, is Charlize Theron really excited to play Clea?
No, I'm sure she was just like, hey, I'm in the Fast and the Furious. Why not add this to my resume? People like me. I want to be a part of it too.
Yeah.
Because it's an honor to be a part of this huge franchise. Like, you really cement yourself, and so many of these people will always be known as these characters. And yeah, Charlize Theron, she's fine. She's got tons of other characters that people will probably know her for, but why not have a fallback on being a quote-unquote potentially iconic character, even if it is a Clea?
Yeah. And it's just it's interesting that this series kind of started, not necessarily everyone in that they pulled in was no names, but like knowing who Chris Hemsworth is or Tom Hiddleston is. Like Brie Larson
was such a big risk, and it paid off so well.
Brie Larson, like, she did a bunch of indie stuff, and she people knew her because she just won an Oscar. Yeah. And then after winning the Oscar, she's now Captain Marvel.
But like Chadwick Boseman, he was in a bunch of stuff, but nobody knew his name.
But now this series seems like we're only hiring big name people for all these like new characters. It's like, I guess it kind of makes sense where it's just like you have all these big characters, we'll get no names to do them. And then all these no name characters, we'll get big names to do them.
Because then we shine a light on this character and we really lift them up.
So like it was smart and makes sense, but it's just interesting. It'll be interesting to see where the future of this, these franchises go, where they just keep adding big names to these second string, third string, fourth string characters, like characters who appeared in one issue that the director was like, no, it'd be fun to bring these guys in for like a Guardians of the Galaxy cameo. And it's like, who's that? And it's like,
I mean, fucking, Frog Thor has made an appearance. Like, we're really digging into anything, and it's been a joke in a lot of different videos and channels that I watch. But Big Wheel is a Spider-Man character. He's just a guy in a big mechanized wheel, like, a couple stories tall, and it just, when that guy shows up in the MCU, they have just absolutely scraped the bottom of the barrel. And then you really got to see, can they make it work? Can you scrape that barrel and then like lick your hand and go, I like bottom of the barrel. That's where all the stuff settles.
The question is like, when does it end?
It don't.
It's like, can it end? Can it end well? Or will it like...
No. The only way it ends is they have 5 to 10 big stinkers in a row. Tank. And maybe it's like after 5, they tank. Okay, we got to pull out something. We're going to bring Robert Downey Jr. back. I don't care if he's a 70-year-old man. We're bringing it back. And then that tanks. Okay, we got to bring back Chris Evans. That tanks. And even when it's like the goodwill of the old stuff can't make you more money, then it's done.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I fear for this franchise is that it's like, doing the Dumb and Dumber thing where it's like, we're bringing those two characters you loved from 20 years ago. Well, now we're bringing them back because...
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia. And I don't want that. I'd much rather see Kevin Feige go like, okay, we're going to tell these stories as long as we can, but it's going to be cohesive. It's going to make sense in quotation marks. And we're not going to do a thing where like, okay, these actors have all aged up. They've ran their course, but Disney still needs to make money off of Marvel.
Yeah. We have a theme
We're going to go to
on...
Earth 414 or whatever, and now it's all new actors starting over, and we're doing new trilogy of Spider-Man. It's like, I don't want to be 70 years old and now we're on, it's no longer, we're not rebooting the franchise. I mean, you are, but it's like, well, we're just going to a different universe, and this is where we're going to end.
This universe is 30 years in the past compared to everything else. So yeah, we're going to do World War II again, Captain America. Why not? Or they update it and they do the war of, you know, whatever's coming now. Oh yeah, I guess it'll be Russia versus Ukraine, and somehow Captain America's involved with that, and that's what puts him in the ice. You know, it'll just be update.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about superhero fatigue, and I'm not there because I'm still happy to see these movies.
If it was all Spider-Man and Batman, that sort of superhero, like fighting criminals in the street, I would get tired of that. But our superhero movies can be anything from galactic battles to like spy espionage stuff. So yeah, Black Widow is a superhero, but it's totally different than what Eternals is. So as long as they keep it fresh with interesting stories, interesting characters, I don't think the superhero genre is going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, you know, it's 5 years out from, I mean, I think you still got a good 20 years of this shit.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't want to see all these actors who are, I don't want to see them pulling a Patrick Stewart and coming back when they're 80 just because, like, oh, remember that thing you liked from 20 plus years ago? It's like, yeah, I liked it because it was good then, not because you bring him back.
I think the only one that gets to work is Chris Evans come back as an actual old man, because he's probably pretty handsome and he would look like old man Steve Rogers, and he's just aged into the role.
Yeah.
That's the only one that I'll let slide.
Yeah, agreed. I'm okay. Because of all the MCU people, Captain America is my favorite, and I love Chris Evans, and
he's the best.
He's
the only one with a good trilogy, or a great trilogy, I should say.
Yeah. You know, people kind of shit on, I think, the first Avenger movie, but I like the first Avenger movie.
The first Avengers movie is top 5 Marvel movies, for sure.
I think...
Wait, I'm sorry. Captain America, the first Avenger. Yeah. I thought you were saying Avengers.
No.
Absolutely. First Avenger is great. It's a great origin story.
Yeah. I don't...
talk about effects not aging all that well. Captain America is one of them, but
I think he looks good.
I don't know, sure, but there's...
You're just talking about like the laser beam fights
and just like jumping from one catwalk to another.
Yeah.
It's all like just a CGI.
I mean, all the Phase 1 stuff doesn't really hold. I mean,
Iron Man still looks pretty good.
Iron Man's solid, but
Captain America has the best trilogy. That first movie
for sure.
is excellent, and they just keep getting better. I mean, I like Winter Soldier the best over Civil War.
Of course,
Civil War, it's kind of a cheat because it's kind of like an Avengers, 2.5, but it's still just such a good Captain America story. You just happen to get a bunch of other really good stories too.
Yeah, and it's, everyone complains about Superman, and Superman's not interesting because he's too powerful and he's a Boy Scout. It's like, but I mean, Captain America's a Boy Scout too, but I love him as a Boy Scout. Like, just being the moral compass who still struggles with his own ideals, and it's just like...
But the thing is, like, Superman's boring because he could just punch his way out of everything, and Captain America, although very strong, he can't. He'll try, but he can't.
Right. And I don't know, I think there's tons of Superman stories out there that just haven't really been done live action, and it's like, Superman always just has to fight a guy who's just like him. It's like,
or Lex Luthor.
Or Lex. It's like, have him...
Get him off-world, really.
Get him off-world, make him travel the cosmos, fight.
That's a Green Lantern thing, If you're going to do off-world stuff, but it's like...
But that would be like that would be a team-up. Like, if you did the MCU version of the DCEU or whatever, that they just can't fucking land because they hire the wrong people. But we're getting way off track here, but who cares?
That's a different podcast.
But I'm just saying, like, the Superman Green Lantern team-up movie, it's like where the Guardians of the Galaxy are teaming up with Thor, and Thor and Love and Thunder. Like, these two make sense.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I think there's good... You can do a good Superman movie and make a character that is more than just the guy who can beat anybody.
Yeah.
And plus, like, Superman's weak to magic, and we haven't ever seen Superman fight magic in a live-action film.
Yeah.
do some of that shit. Like, imagine if Superman popped into this Doctor Strange movie and Doctor Strange kicks Superman's ass. Then wouldn't that be fun?
That would be really fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we'll, if Shazam 2 has stuff with Superman, maybe. But, I mean, once again, Shazam is just Superman, but made of magic instead of solar energy. But there's, like, no difference between them.
Yeah.
So, it's not like Shazam has magic blasts or anything. He's just...
He could shoot lightning, right? Can he?
Maybe, but lightning's not... I mean, it's a
magic.
magical attack, I guess, but it's not magic itself.
If someone was as strong as Shazam and that person and Shazam both punch Superman, Shazam's would hurt more because that punch is powered by magic, not necessarily that he's shooting magic at you.
Okay, fair enough.
I think. I don't know. Like I said, Marvel fanboy, not a DC guy.
It's all ridiculous anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so in conclusion, I like where the MCU is going because we're getting a lot of more comic booky stories. Because you pick up a random comic book, anybody could pop in, Ghost Rider teams up with Spider-Man to go, stop drugs or something. It could just happen, or they could go fight Galactus. Anything could happen. Anybody could show up, and we've established this world so well that you don't have to explain a lot of things, and you can put anybody in anything and just tell these one-off stories, and they don't have to be the greatest of stakes. And it'll be interesting to get more smaller, standalone, not necessarily smaller in scope, but just like, just a movie that is just a couple of issues that isn't part of some major arc and doesn't have to have these lasting consequences. You could just have a thing that happens, and I like that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think this next phase could be quite telling of where the future goes. I'm including all the shows that we've seen and the past few movies. I mean, I'm the one person who liked the Eternals more than a lot of people. Yeah. Shang-Chi I enjoyed more than this movie. I mean, I had more fun, but I think this movie is more visually appealing. But then again, at the same time, I think Shang-Chi, now that I've sat on it, hasn't aged well in comparison. And I think that there's definitely some bad CGI in that movie too.
That's one where it's like you had me and then you lost me at the end. Where this one is like I was dragged along and then I was aboard by the end.
But I feel like that's the thing that Marvel's learned that they can do. And maybe it's unintentional and maybe this is just me. But it's like we can make a thing that the beginning and middle is all set up and doesn't have to be that good as long as we stick the landing. People go, that was great, because you remember the last half hour, not the whole two.
Absolutely.
But that's not filmmaking for me. Okay. That's just being that's making
manipulation.
It's really manipulation, and it's like, oh, you did like it because you enjoyed the last 30 minutes. Like,
man,
you walked out there like,
oh man,
that was a real cool final battle. It's like, but there's more to it than that. Like I come here for these characters and this long form storytelling, and it's like it's all episodic. They're long episodes of television essentially, and if you were just muddling the episodes to get to a really cool Breaking Bad throwing down the thermite explosion moment, then that moment's not really earned because all that shit beforehand doesn't matter, it's just so weak. So it's just I just want them. And Doctor Strange isn't a fair comparison because it is magic, and it's the hardest one I think to kind of write, because you can do anything, but when you can do anything, you also have to limit it to some degree, and it's just hard to work around and all that kind of stuff. Where Spider-Man's kind of easier because he's just a street level dude, and so he's just fighting other guys with tech most of the time. Yep. So, just make quality stuff and I'll be happy, and don't just middle of the road it because Disney forces you to, or because it's who fucking cares, we're making money and you bastards are gonna pay for it anyway.
It's made like $495 million first weekend, not even counting Sunday. I think it was by the end of Saturday it was almost at $500 million.
But I imagine if you go on the Reddit forums, and I know that it's an echo chamber and everyone just likes everything, but it's I bet if you go in there just man, I love Doctor Strange, this part was so cool, I really love it. It's no one really is gonna comment that they disliked it, and the ones that do, they're just gonna get downvoted, and it's only a place that's where everyone's just in agreement that everything's great all the time. And it's not the case.
If you say you
I need people to be more critical.
They're oh, just turn off your brain and enjoy it, it's just a fun movie. And it's well, why can't I have my brain on. This doesn't seem like a movie. Like, I would say turn off your brain for Fast and the Furious, because there's not a lot of substance there. It is just cars going fast.
Yeah.
Where this, maybe it doesn't have a lot to say, but it's more than just, oh, look at that building. It's like turning into something. Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need it to be The Dark Knight or something where there's a message along with, I mean, every movie has message, but like, it doesn't need to like be this deep thing that like is only for smart people or whatever like that. It can be fun, but that you don't have to sacrifice fun, or you don't have to sacrifice good storytelling for fun. You can do both. It is possible. Marvel's done it a bunch of times.
Tons of times.
I'm just worried that they're doing less of that now.
Yeah.
And that's what concerns me. Because I'm someone who's willing to jump ship at any time. I've done it for a bunch of stuff. So,
and you know me, I don't jump.
You don't ever jump ship.
And that's why so many things I don't even start. Like, people try to get me like, you should watch Star Trek. I know I would like Star Trek, but there's so much of it, I don't even want to bother. But if I do start something, it's hard for me to jump ship, even as long as there's an inkling of something that I like, something that I got to see how it resolves. I'm just gonna stick with it. But I'm a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
So I think that's enough.
Oh, yes, it is. Sorry, everybody. Hopefully this is edited down to a nice, tight
90.
Tight 90.
This is going to be like good, bad, like, nope. All right, so what did you guys think of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? If you want to get in contact with us, we are at WRPL Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, or our email is wrplpodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up. As always, I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
Good night.